Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of By the Numbers. I'm Richard Lewis, that's Duncan Thorin Shields, the esports historian. Sam is feeling fresh, did a great countdown there, Sam. I really appreciate it, mate. Nice and strong.
I thought we could rename the show though. Now it could be called, like the new episode is going to be called Brazilians Try Nonsense, because that's what the first 20 minutes of every fucking episode for the last 8 weeks is about.
Yeah, you're right, actually. We'll get into that. I do want to say, though, Sam's unbelievably happy today. It's been a great day for him.
Okay.
Yeah, football season has started. Liverpool won 4-3 against Leeds. Didn't even watch. A real fan.
Oh, yeah, I did, though. Yeah. I'll buy into the story. Yeah, have a great day.
Yeah,
Wait a minute,
there
you're
it is.
a fan of Leeds?
Liverpool.
No, Liverpool.
Liverpool.
All the Welsh are divided into United and Liverpool.
I sort of get that vaguely, because I'll say this: you are fairly close. If you, I'm not sure where the country you're from, but like Cardiff isn't that far from Liverpool. That's not such a stretch, I guess.
Oh no, and it's like similar background.
Teams to watch,
It's like working class, miners, sort of same sort of jobs. It's it's pretty easy to compare yourself to from South Wales.
Yeah. Because if people don't know, like the problem with Britain is like, it's not like America where there's just like ex-sports franchise. So, for example, in America, they're worse than us, mate. Like, I know people who live in like one fucking part of a state, and then they're supporting the team that's like miles away. That's like the big. It's like you're not even from there, but like there's too many clubs in England. So as a result, like put it this way, spoiler: there's no Wales clubs that are even vaguely competitive. Aren't they all in like Division 3 or worse?
Well, because we've got our own league, but then like we had Welsh teams.
Yeah, Cardiff and Swansea got in the Premiership.
Swansea, basically, yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
What's the highest one at the moment?
Swansea.
What division are they in?
They were in Prem.
Holy shit, they're in the Premier League. That's how many years I haven't been watching. Jesus Christ, they must have gone up. Mate, that's like some championship manager shit.
Cardiff went up as well.
What's the last time I watched? Like what?
Yeah. So they're not in the Prem. They're not in the Prem at the moment. They're in the Championship now. But they were in the Prem like in the last 4 or 5 years or something.
That's pretty legit.
Yeah. So we did all right, mate. We did all right. But anyway, the other reason Sam is over the moon, happy today, not just Liverpool winning. He loves that team.
Money or something?
No, mate. Better than that.
That would have been good news.
Liam Gallagher.
Right.
Come on.
Liam Gallagher did a tweet today, and it was just one word. It was just one word. He tweeted out the word curry. And Sam thinks that's the best thing that's ever happened on Twitter. He hit me with Liam Gallagher said curry on Twitter.
I just thought it was mental, mate.
Liam Gallagher tweeted the word curry. I don't know. Well, I don't know why celebrities bother. Like,
I know. What are you doing? Like,
yeah, what is the fucking point?
Look at that, though. 715 retweets, 7.5k likes, mate. He obviously knows what they want. Curry, like.
Yeah.
Fucking curry arcade.
All you need to know is this, right? If you don't know much about Oasis, because I'm a big fan of Oasis, actually.
Yeah, I know you are,
Noel Gallagher is exactly what you'd think like all the movies would be about a songwriter. Like, it's a guy from a working class background, doesn't even know the chords or music or anything. He just picked it up, just learned it. It just comes from it, speaks from his heart. His words are very simple, but they're obviously like iconic, anthemic, you know. He's clearly tapped in. So he's sort of like he's a bard, you know, he's a folk magician, as it were, right? Then his brother, all I'll do is I'll just give you a quote that Noel Gallagher said about his own brother. He obviously knows him very well. He just said, he's a man with a fork in a world full of soup.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
That is a fucking burning off.
What a quote that is.
That's got to, isn't it?
Yeah. So look, anyway, sponsors. I gotta give a shout out to NordVPN. We'll have to put their logo back up, Sam.
Oh my god!
I re-signed the deal. The deal.
The logos.
Yep. So you can go to NordVPN are back on board for the next I think 6 months. I can't remember, but I signed it. Signed the deal. So if you need a VPN, go and download NordVPN by going to nordvpn.com/RLS. And obviously into our 3rd year, loving the sponsorship. If you want to place bets on esports events, and we've got loads of league games going on and stuff at the moment. The old debate about saturation of Counter-Strike has cropped up again. Go to .com, or if you're watching on YouTube, go to beep9es.com, and they'll match up to $100 deposits to get you started. So,
by the way, have I really not got to bleep that? Are we agreeing that I haven't got to beep with 9es?
Listen, at this point, I just like the mimetic. You know,
I think it's become its own cool aspect. Yeah, I would keep doing it if I were you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I agree.
I even think that was a pretty clever get around that they made just a website that was like beep with 9es. I even remember that because Richard said it that many times.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Is it 9 was the number of E's?
Yeah, 9
There
is
we
the
go.
number of E's.
I'm usually tuned out during that part. Just fucking thinking about Liam Gallagher stuff,
Yeah. So anyway, so look, there is stuff to talk about, but we're going to double up on the viewer questions because we didn't do viewer questions on the last episode, so we're going to have a nice leisurely episode. But I can see Duncan's hot to trot. I can see he's got a fucking bee in his bonnet about this stuff. So I put a video out today. Was it today? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was this afternoon. Yeah, mate, I've been busy as fuck. I'm barely with it. And basically just pointing out that there was one scene that seems to be absolutely ravaged in terms of at the top tier of all the coaches being caught, and it just so happened to be the Brazilian CS scene. Now, obviously, what we know is that Dead has been banned from 2 tournaments. That's the coach from MIBR, 2 sets of tournaments. And in fact, his cheating, because it took place in the qualifier for the major cycle, that MIBR have had their major ranking points all reset, which we'll talk about in just a little.
It's the way this is another week, right, where there's not even one central story. There's about 15 fracture. Like we have to do KNG's response. Like, it never ends. This one, does it? Never. Ends.
No. But like you have to understand. This is like. Do you remember when Immortals?
By the way,
I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, you're bleeding through.
Yeah, I'm bleeding through, Sam. I can hear myself.
Why does he sometimes like echo through? What is that? Oh,
yeah,
fair
good.
enough. Okay.
Yeah, right. So anyway, do you remember when Immortals did that thing where they just decided like, yeah, we know KNG's suspended, but he's not. We're not gonna allow this. So we're just gonna all play together. And this set off a chain of events that completely fucked up the major.
Some have been the same since.
Yeah, we're seeing this again now. I think almost happening in terms of what went on with just a throwaway game between MIBR and Chaos. The ripples just appear to have gone out to such a ridiculous extent. We've got this big fraction in the scene right now, and the sweet delicious karma that's come back for MIBR has been amazing. The Schadenfreude of it all has been fantastic. But anyway, so Dead banned from 2 tournaments. MIBR have made no statement about whether or not he's going to be suspended because MIBR have 0 values, by the way, guys. I feel comfortable saying that now, that MIBR have 0 values, because if they do have values, at no point do they ever actually do anything to embody them. Like, for example, when they put out a statement on June 1st saying, Black Lives Matter, guys. We should come together and learn to love each other's differences. Then 2 days after that, First said, yeah, if you've got Afro-style hair, it's inferior. So, yeah, literally couldn't have contradicted the statement harder. They push an apology out in Portuguese and we'll just push that one under the carpet. At a time, by the way, when people were getting cancelled or whatever you want to call it for far less, because it's such a sensitive and inflammatory time for obvious reasons. Anyway,
mate, if people don't know, in League of Legends in 2014. The player Svenskeren, who was the jungler, said something, by the way, I'd argue was less inflammatory. It's also obviously like racial invective. And he got banned, even though it wasn't in an official match. He did it in solo queue, and he got banned for half of his games in the World Championship group stage. So the idea that Fer gets no punishment whatsoever is actually insane. Like, I agree with you, by the way. Let's expand that. When you say MIBR, we're talking about the org. They've been an absolute joke. All they had to do, this is how easy it is. All they had to do, Richard, was just condemn his actions. No problem. You can still do whatever you want behind the scenes. We can't know if you punish it. But I'll tell you the reason I don't think they did it. Because they know their own fans would go fucking mental. So they choose their fans over everyone else. Secondly, MIBR the players. Fallen Magi. You're not going to call people out for blatant aim locks and other such things and then just be silent about your own coach cheating. What the fuck is that? What even is that?
Well, I mean, you know what it is. It's hypocrisy. Thy name is fallen, So anyway, we won't dwell on MIBR. I've got the second part of that article to come out. I saw a comment on Reddit, by the way, Duncan, that blew my fucking mind. It was in the announcement that I joined Deserto. There was a comment in there where someone literally said, and where's the second part of this MIBR article? Guess he's just sweeping it under the rug. Why would I be sweeping my own article under the rug, you fucking stupid cunt? You unbelievably thick cunt. Like, what function is missing from your brain to put that together? Like, I won't even say the guy's name, like, because, people will just reply to him saying, "You are an unbelievably fit cunt." And I'm not going to do it. But he is an unbelievably
He's
fit
probably had
cunt.
that his whole life, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, no, but this is the other thing, isn't it? Like, morons don't know they're morons.
They don't, unfortunately.
They don't. It's why they're great at arguing.
I'll give
They
you an
can never see
example.
when they've lost.
You'll appreciate this, Rich. I actually replied, one of the rare times I replied to the comments, as opposed to when I just do the 10 comments per post, like I'm fucking required to until I quit Reddit, which will be soon. One of them I actually replied to genuinely, like I just wanted to reply to this guy, was a Brazilian fan in the thread about your video. And here's what he was saying. He was saying like, and you know what? When Guerri came out and, explained himself, not a single journalist covered it. I said, that's not even true. Literally, like HLTV.org, Desert, or fucking .esports all covered it. That's literally factually just a lie. But that's the point. And this is something I want to bring up. What the Brazilian players did themselves is bad enough. They've created enough drama and enough problems for themselves. But it's the constant reaction of the fans, which, by the way, mirrors the players. If you look at Taco and Fallen and fucking GenG, everything that they do is your fault. If they had to punch me in the face, they'd then talk for years about how horrible it was that I'd made them punch me in the face. That's the level these... They'd talk about how they had to go to counselling because I'd made them punch me in the face. That's the level these guys are on. Because they literally talk, right? Like when they were suggesting for Richard's article, that video rather, that, he's obviously just gone and only investigated Brazilian people first. It's like, right, first of all, that doesn't even make sense because if there was nothing there, he'd wasted his fucking time, you daft shit. Secondly, he obviously hasn't done that, has he? Like, you think if he'd have secretly found that the top 10 coaches in Europe had done it, the video would only be about, of course it wouldn't. That would be the fucking lead, wouldn't it? That would be the bigger story. So I hate the way they constantly, basically, people aren't going to know this reference, but if you know anything about the culture wars, there's a term, it's an acronym called DARVO, where essentially what it means is when you've done something wrong, what you do is, rather than defend it, because what a fool, right? When you defend something, I learned this myself, it's a mistake. When you defend something, in a weird sense, you give it some level of credibility that you have to defend yourself against it, right? You imply that it's worthy of defending. What you do instead, these people, is you literally say, not only was the other person guilty, they were guilty of exactly what I'm guilty of. And that's how you just spin it. And what you do is you effectively just gaslight them the whole time that it was them. So you've been presented in this scenario with every instance, the cheating, the KNG thing, the fur thing, this article now. It's been presented that like we started all this as a fake drama and then we almost got lucky that like all this shit happened along. No, that's exactly the opposite chronology. Every time, like for example, who was talking about MIBR in this respect before they called someone a cheater out public? Who was talking before they demanded a replay of a round? Who was talking before they said racially insensitive comments? Who was talking before they turned out to cheat in the World Championship fucking qualifier? But there's only two types of MIBR. Well, there's three. I'll give them credit. There's three types of MIBR fan. There's the one that's silent and I've never heard from. Can't pass comment on them. Never heard from them. There's the type that are just massive cunts and just say, I'm going to kill you, rape your family. By the way, I've noticed no event in the world ever even bothers keeping track of those people when they have the real name and ban them for events or anything. Weird how that works, isn't it? And I've already told you, I went to an event where they threatened my life in my home country. Third one is the MIBR fan who goes, you've got to stop generalizing against Brazilians. We're not all like that. Besides, you're obviously biased, a complete hypocrite. You haven't posted about any of these things, square brackets, that you definitely have posted about. And I'm just going to call all of your character into question. And in doing so, prove that if I'm the reasonable fan, Jesus fucking Christ, how bad are we? Because that's the equivalent, by the way, of a normal bad fan. So it's like, they can't help but make themselves look worse in every regard. And the victimhood. Like that KNG one was the ultimate one. KNG, in any other esports game, you would never play another fucking professional game in your life. The idea you're even allowed into the Immortals Gaming Club organization of MIBR after what you did to Immortals itself, and then 100 Thieves, the organization that you fucked up the arse as they spent all that money, never got a single match ever. Zero apologies that were actually genuine for any of these things. And at the end of it all, it's people fucking your life up again. I don't know if you've noticed this, mate. This isn't being John Malkovich. I don't just go through a fucking window and come into your head and make you say the stupidest shit possible. That comes from whatever God gave you, mate, between your ears, and it ain't helping. So I'd just go ahead and I'd give you a suggestion. Vow of silence, maybe. I think your career would take off. You're a pretty good player.
Yeah. I mean, so just to follow on from all of that, right? Because listen, I've had it. I've obviously had it in the neck again today, and it's come from like even the managers and people and coaches and people in the Brazilian scene that I like and I have time for are going, this looks like you're picking on Brazil, and it's like, no, mate, right? Here's what's happened: the entirety of the top of the endemic Brazilian scene have been caught using these bugs, right? It's insane. That hasn't happened in any other country yet. When it does, obviously, I'll report on it. But you have lost Dead from MIBR. Now, Guerri, one of the Furia guys, had an argument with me over it, saying I shouldn't put Guerri in the thumbnail because it's associating him with cheaters. Look,
He still got a ban though, didn't he? As a result, didn't they say something? Didn't they in the end judge that like he sort of did something wrong, like he didn't announce the first time or something? I can't remember what they did. It was upheld though, right?
Yeah, I mean, what you have to remember is, right, like, yeah, I get it. He's put out a very compelling argument.
The coolest guy in the bunch.
I'm with you. And I like the guy, and everyone likes Furia for obvious reasons.
Also for owning it the second half, not denying it like all the other cunts.
Yeah, but what also is, right, a compelling argument that you didn't gain an advantage from something that is ostensibly cheating anyway still doesn't. It's your word, isn't it? It's like, I know his argument was brilliant. It was a 30-minute long video. I watched it with the subtitles on. You know, yeah, great compelling argument. But at the end of the day, that's all it is, an argument. And we don't know if it's happened in other games. I mean, that would be absolutely terrible for him if it had. So we need to wait and see. But regardless, he's probably still going to get a penalty, because what he should have done is the second it happened said, whoa, hey up, lads, that we got a bug here. Should have told an admin, the game should have been packed down, and they should have replayed the round from that moment without the bug being in place. Yeah, I get it, you alt-tabbed. Yeah, I get it, you walked away from your PC. Yeah, I get it, after the game, you told the admins. That's not how you handle that shit, unfortunately. So there's going to have to be a penalty there almost for incompetence, even if you got zero advantage from it. But anyway, Guerri and Dead.
People don't know. That's even a legal standard. I don't know if it's other countries, but in the UK particularly, the famous line is, ignorance is not an excuse.
Yeah.
Like, I can't go and say, well, I was supposed to be paying tax these last 10 years. I was just chilling. I didn't know. It's like, they don't go, oh, well, you're free to go then. They go like, sorry, all the fines still apply. Like, you don't just get off from that.
Yeah, no, of course not. So then, right, you're like, well, that's bad enough. That's the big two, having their coaches implicated. Now, one is worse than the other because Dead actively lied about it, put a fucking edited clip out to try and deceive people into the public domain, and then got caught having done it in another tournament against a fucking team his fucking wife owns, and he's the co-owner. You know, he couldn't have fucked up more if he tried. Like it's like that fucking scene in The Simpsons where Sideshow Bob is just walking into rake after rake after rake to the fucking dome. Guerri, on the other hand, yeah, I think he should be shown some leniency, absolutely, but probably still gonna have to get a slap on the wrist. But then you look at the rest of what happened, and basically somebody was going through looking at all of the clips, right? So Pain Gaming, who people on Reddit are telling me fucking, I mean, these teams aren't big. Do you know how big Pain Gaming are and how far they go back and what their history is?
One of the biggest dogs in the whole country.
Yeah, so Pain Gaming, their coach, BrunoOno, who, by the way, is a former competitor himself.
He was a major winner in 1.6.
Yeah, one major tournaments in 1.6, right? Very well established and well-liked guy in the 1.6 scene. Well, he's been caught using the bug, and he's saying, I can't even defend myself in the way Guerri did because there's no, I don't have any of the comms, we don't have any of the videos, so I'm just going to have to eat the punishment. But people who know me know I'm not that way, I'm not a cheater. So Pain Gaming now have been implicated. Then you had PRD, another 1.6 competitor. He was the coach of Red Canids. Red Canids, he's been caught using the bug, been suspended. Red Canids are the only team out of the ones that I'm talking about that actually have suspended the coach in the aftermath. Then you had Rix from Daytona. We've all heard of Daytona, another reasonably sized organization. Yeah, right. And then Poe from W7M, he was using the bug. Didn't pass any information on to anyone while using it, and we're still waiting for a statement from them. So all of these names I'm saying, that's the Brazilian coaching scene. Like, yeah, I forgot Zeus when I did my video because he's been in NA for so long. I don't think about it. But you've got Zeus and Peacemaker essentially left. Like, they've lost a generation of coaches because they've all been having a cheat. And by the way, this was one person's efforts into looking into these demos and isn't tied to the main ESIC investigation. So there could be more instances of these people having done it. There could be, more coaches to come in Brazil that just haven't been noticed. This is really bad, guys. And I don't know why people are saying, well, you shouldn't just point out a country. I mean, look how many have done it in Europe. Yeah, that's a fucking continent. That's a continent. I would expect the numbers to be bigger, frankly. But Brazil has lost essentially overnight, if they get suspended and penalized, it's lost its entire coaching, like the top tier of its coaching in one fell swoop. It's very, very bad what's happened in Brazil.
Oh, and also, listen, this might sound weird, but I'm going to throw it out there. Notice the two people who didn't get caught are the ones who've made careers for themselves outside of Brazil. They've worked for organizations that aren't Brazilian organizations. That's why, even though Richard's video was nothing about that, his was just like, wow, look, every notable coach has been caught who's in Brazilian teams, basically.
Yeah.
That's just actual factual reporting. Like, he didn't say anything about Brazilian culture, but I'm about to. Two things. One,
oh, Lord.
what is the fucking insane correlation here between people who are within Brazil right now having cheated? It's insane. It's absurd. I would suggest they have a different sense for what the rules are and what they consider cheating. Like, that's the thing. I can already tell by the way they've never addressed it that Fallen doesn't think he cheated in those situations where he absolutely factually cheated in tournaments.
Well, to bring up a point that would sort of align with that opinion of yours, GenG did a tweet which he deleted. You can get it off my Twitter feed if you want to show it, Sam. But basically, he put a tweet out saying that it was ridiculous that Valve had took all their ranking points away for one round, for what he categorizes as one round of cheating. What he overlooks is his team should have been disqualified.
Of course.
Should have been disqualified from the moment they were playing their academy team. Yeah, which is what Gaming effectively is. So,
also, think about that logic, right? By the logic of what KNG's just said there, right? That means any other team, say the game's 15-14, another team can go, I'm only going to cheat for one round, KNG. And then you're imagining anyone in the world that he would just go, fair enough, go for it.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers go crazy if they can't wear a hat.
I know.
It's insane. And then the other thing I was going to say was, in that scenario, where was I going with that? Oh, I would say another factor is this. Just look at the response. As you said, Richard, put it this way. It rather than saying everyone who justified it, defended it, said, but what about HLTV performance? What about your tweet 4 years ago? Well, why would that make you cheat, you daft little fucking cunt? Why would that make it okay to do that? This is what I want to know. Where's the people taking accountability? Where's the people holding their own scene responsible? Where's the people cleaning up their scene? There aren't any. They don't exist. The only person I know, the only two people are the ones you mentioned that haven't been caught cheating. Zeus has been destroyed, by the way, emotionally over this, because he's the one who spent years trying to fix fucking relations between shithead Brazilians and all these people who are in esports. So he doesn't want us to all bring it up all the time. He doesn't want us to say all Brazilians do that. But then think about it. What fucking legs he got left to stand on? You guys have wrecked that guy. And then Peacemaker, who, by the way, was one of the strongest advocates that all the coaches who cheated should be banned, and said he's never done it. And you can look at all his demos. Aside from these two guys who've proven how cool they are, by the way, everyone else, it shows that if it wasn't us and it wasn't Valve and others holding the Brazilian scene accountable, they wouldn't even police themselves. They wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't. And you know what's interesting as well? Like, think about all the things that we've said and joked about with Peacemaker and how we've banged on him on this podcast, But like, at the end of the day, he reached out to me when all of this was going down, and he just said he said it's made him ashamed. He's like, he's fucking miserable. That this is happening to the Brazilian scene, that it's happening to CS across the board. And he knows he's never done it and would never have dreamed of it. And it's like, yeah, he reached out and was like really, really fucking cool about it. And basically thanked us for highlighting it on the show and the podcast and everything. Like, he is a cool guy. I still don't rate him as a coach, and I still think he's too set in his ways, but that's neither here nor there. This guy's above reproach when it comes to competitive integrity, quite clearly. And you'll notice I haven't seen many coaches actually say, "Look at all my demos."
Yep.
I think he's probably one of two that I've seen.
At least I think he said something like that, didn't he? Didn't he imply?
Yeah,
something
no,
along
yeah,
those
you're right.
lines?
Yeah. So, so basically, he actually got in touch and thanked us for highlighting it all. It's ridiculous. And like, listen, I'm not trying to single out Brazil, but that is a newsworthy story in and of itself. That we are talking about your entire upper tier coaching scene. Like, if everybody follows suit, all of those guys will be suspended, probably fired, and no team will touch them. We don't even know which way Valve are going to go, which we'll segue into now.
Oh, by the way, just as an aside, I'll throw it in there for the sake of context, because people are going to forget this. You're the same people who wanted someone fucking banned with zero evidence. Zero.
And they're going to be running a qualifier where people can be banned with zero evidence.
I love that, by the way.
Are these guys, are these coaches and these teams going to be allowed to compete? Because some of the names, by the way, some of the names are going to be in that Trebo.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
they're probably the fucking panel if I had to guess, mate. They're probably the panel. No, the craziest thing is, because here's the sad thing, mate. Even though I get annoyed when people just say stupid shit, obviously it's not as bad if it's not you they're saying it about. So like I can't lie. I do just sort of hate read the threads that are about your work, because then when they say stupid shit, I'm like, this is stupid, but it's not getting to me at least. So I get to almost enjoy it. So the fucked up thing is, I remember someone also trying to argue in that one. Why is he even bringing up the idea that the actual fucking anti-cheats are rat? Like one of those things that can go like right down into your fucking... It used to be, but it isn't anymore. You can't be... It's no wonder they're so good at football. They just fucking move the goalpost to scoring every time.
I saw a guy arguing on Reddit that a VAC ban, that the VAC itself, Valve Anti-Cheat, is a sentient piece like of AI that can conduct its own investigations into whether or not people are cheating. I was like,
VAC's only been banning people because they is Brazilian, innit?
Yeah.
Tell you what, that Skynet was a mistake.
Coming.
I know exactly.
That's coming. But anyway, like, so we'll segue into talking about Valve. They've cancelled the major. I mean,
thanks for that, by the way, guys.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I know you're going to be mad triggered just about that, because it was so obvious that it couldn't go ahead. Like I said, I don't know when the right point. I'm not going to say when the right point to announced that the major was cancelled was, but it was definitely before the day they did it. I don't know whereabouts, but it should have happened sooner. I think that's a fair critique. I know we all wanted it to go ahead, but Brazil, the numbers were just out of control. Like, you can't, and like they said in their own statement, you can't ask people to go out and travel and risk your life, essentially, to play a fucking video game, even if it's for $2 million.
Even if you didn't cancel it, you had to change countries.
Yeah.
Like you had to hold it in, like, I don't know, fucking Sweden or something, didn't you?
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be Sweden. It would have to be New Zealand, probably, at the moment. Or maybe Taiwan or something. But yeah, it's it's crazy. But I'm not bothered that you've cancelled this major. What's interesting, I think, is they've said that, first of all, that major's cancelled. All further majors are cancelled. And all regional major ranking events are going to still be taking place online for a time as of yet undetermined when we can actually have a major.
Great. So we're just trapped in purgatory still.
Yeah.
By the way, imagine being those players. Like, all these... By the way... we've made this point before. More players have been burned out by this online period than any fucking LAN period and by the fact that you sat at home not traveling to like halfway around the world shows like these TOs are greedy as fuck, mate. I'll say this right now. If I have my way and I do a full Flashpoint circuit, I'm not lying. It takes like 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, we give you $1 million, the entire prize pool of a major. There are motherfuckers doing formats that are as expansive as that take 3 weeks, 4 weeks to run, and then the total prize purse is like 200 grand or something. It's like, at what point in time do you TOs ever just fucking like, when do you ever just cop to the fact that like you're just exploiting everyone? Like you're burning people out. It's actually gross.
Yeah.
And I get that you're all dying and your companies are all going to shit. That's the whole reason we made Flashpoint, you fucking cunts.
I mean, well, so the Flashpoint thing, because I don't know if people picked up on it, but basically an event that you were going to do got
we got reamed up the arse all day long by this major. So first of all, we applied for an RMR, never got one, of course, because we're not MTG, are we? So we all know that Valve gives them out nice and fair, just all to MTG, and they want to CS Summit. CS Summit, a tournament organizer that's never run a large-scale LAN ever in the history of Counter-Strike. They've all been run out of a house, and there were funsies tournaments, but they get an RMR. So, okay, we can't do an RMR, which obviously would be a logical way to still have Flashpoint 2, but still take care of the fact that this major cycle. Then, because they cancelled the major, ESL just goes right over our dates as well with the LAN. So that's cool. So, like, it never stops. It never fucking stops. And anyone that's, by the way, that's the thing. It's so unfortunate that at the beginning of the year, someone high up told me that misleading and inaccurate information that ESL had gone over our dates when we actually hadn't put our dates in the calendar thing. Because what people don't know is that's like ESL's fucking calendar. And the joke is they do stuff like block off an area that they don't even have an event in, just go, we might have an event here. And then they just choose, like they play God with it. So it's bad enough what ESL does. The idea Valve's just going to sit back and just go, oh, he's fucking you up. It's like, are you going to do anything about it? No. So, like, how are you supposed to operate a business like that? How are you supposed to run a LAN tournament when you can't, until like a month before, book a venue, start getting visas, even plan all the content? How are you supposed to do it? You can't, by the way. A spoiler is you can't. Like, people like ESL, I'll tell you the reason they're running that LAN in Cologne. It's their fucking home base. Like, that's literally where they're from. Notice it's not in, like, fucking some exotic location with a massive... It's not like in Dubai or something. Yeah, because that'd be a logistical nightmare. Like, to run events, the whole thing is, normally, I would say minimum is like 6 months that you normally want planning. You book the venue, get all the licenses. Sometimes you have to do deals with the local fucking government. There's a million things you have to do. So, like, what I'm pointing out here is Valve have created a situation where only one company can actually operate LAN tournaments right this year. Only one, ESL/MTG. Everyone else, like, the only way Blast's fine is because Blast literally is doing it all online. So as long as the dates don't clash online, then they're okay. You can still be in the same location. There's no way. You cannot run a scene this way. You cannot.
No, I agree. And like I say, I'll get Monty and everyone back on. We'll do a special just on that because, I think like Flashpoint, like, out of all of the leagues and stuff we've got, the COVID situation seems to hit them the hardest. And then on top of that, you've got the fact that, for whatever reason, it doesn't look like you're in Valve's good graces. And we know ESL, for whatever they say about being like this, we're only just doing what we need to do to survive. Obviously, there's more to it than that. They are going to take a particular pleasure. And exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so... forget all that. We're in purgatory. We don't know when a major's going to happen. We don't know we don't know whether it'll still be the 2 million prize money, whether that'll go up, whether that will be down to 1 next year, 2, whether they'll do more to make up for it. There's no plan until COVID goes away, and it's not going away. By the way, fellas, like I don't know how to tell you. Like 2021's going to be more of the same, unfortunately, probably until about the summer. So whatever. Anyway, they've addressed the coaching issue. And they have said that...
most ominous way possible.
Yeah, well, because we know from what they did in 2016 when they changed the coaching rules, they didn't even like coaching to begin with. They didn't want constant contact between coaches and players while they were playing. They only wanted them to talk in the downtimes or halftime or in timeouts. They didn't want them calling strats. They didn't want it to, in what their opinion was, become a 6-man game, right? Which... everyone was against that at the time, and slowly and surely we've got to a place where we have more dynamic coaching now, right? Because people sort of went away from the Valve model. Now what they've said is that that they're going to, first of all, anyone that was disqualified during an RMR event will have all of their points reset. Fair enough. We all agree with that. But they've also said, as for taking action against individual coaches, we're going to wait until we get a complete picture of the extent of the bug abuse and the punishments handed down by third parties. Regardless of those penalties, mid-match coaching will always be a tempting opportunity for some teams to violate the integrity of the match, so we may also consider limitations to coaching. So a couple of points on that. First off, if Valve want their punishment system to make any sense whatsoever, as in if you even are tied to an account, a Steam account, via an email or a phone number that has a VAC ban on it, you are banned for life from competing at their events, regardless of the evidence. as to whether or not you cheated on said account and in what context you cheated in. Also, they banned for life the iBuyPower players and associated handlers, let's say, from all Valve events for throwing a meaningless game in a CEVO match, which was so far down the pecking order of events. Like, no one really gave a fuck. It's why I've always maintained if they'd just come clean before it went to Valve, they wouldn't have been banned. Valve wouldn't have cared. But what happened was, because everyone was banging on about it and I kept haranguing Valve to do something, they just went straight away to DEFCON 1, deployed the nukes, and there you go. So if you're going to ban somebody for match fixing in a meaningless game in a small time league permanently, and you're going to ban somebody for maybe like having bought a fucking account at 13, forgot about it, and then it turns up VAC banned one day and nobody knows why or how, and you're going to ban that individual for life, what must you do to a competitor, a coach in this instance, that has cheated in your sanctioned qualifiers for your world championship that you run and outsource and you pay the prize pool for? Well, you must ban these people for life now. There is no logical conclusion beyond that. And I'm not saying ban all of them for life. For me, I think you do it for the ones that you can provably say cheated in the major qualifiers.
Yes. Or you have to unban the others. It has to be. Well, the point here is you have to be consistent, not least because otherwise people can't even operate. They don't know what's illegal. They don't know if they're going to get banned for life. They're just going to get a slap on the wrist. Like, I got a great quote for you. So this is from the great Alexander Solzhenitsyn, right? Who obviously was a writer on communism and all different topics, right? And his quote goes like this: "I've spent all of my life under a communist regime, and I will tell you that a society without any objective legal skill is a terrible one indeed." Because people don't get it. This might sound crazy. The worst thing about communist Russia and that totalitarian regime wasn't that they sent you to basically prison camps to potentially be tortured. It was that you never knew if you were guilty of the crimes or not, because they just changed the rules constantly and they misapplied it. And then suddenly something was a rule one day and then it wasn't the next. And the whole time you were supposed to pretend that at all times it made sense. And that's what would destroy you, because mentally you can't handle that strain. It means that you're constantly in like a panic state. So there have to be like consistent metrics applied here. So as you're saying, it should even be proportionate. Like I even said before, I didn't think it made sense that Dead got banned for 6 months and then the other one got banned for 12 for like 10 times more instances. Like, you know, that in itself is, it's not fair. The whole point, I've always been against the idea of make an example of them, because I think it's just what a lazy person does to not have to do their fucking job policing them. What you do is you don't make an example of them. You give them a punishment appropriate to their crime and their response to the crime. And you do that no matter if it's the worst cunt in the world or the nicest guy in the world. You give them all the same punishment appropriate to their crime.
So, listen, understand, I'd love it to go the other way. I'd love Valve to have the epiphany and go, holy shit, we're going to have to hand out lifetime bans here. So maybe we shouldn't have handed out lifetime bans for those other things. I'd love it to go that way.
It'd be amazing.
Oh, and of course, it would be the final irony now that the last of the iBuyPower guys have fucked off to Valorant or moved on with their lives. That's the point Valve come out and go, yeah, you can. Sorry, guys, we were a bit overzealous on that one. Right. But anyway, I don't think that'll happen. And I also don't think they'll ban them for life. I think we will get something absurd where they're banned from the next major. Right? And it's going to be ridiculous. Also, the question becomes, should Valve be taking action at all against the coaches that didn't cheat in the regional major qualifiers and are cheating in leagues like ECS or, you know, the ESL Brazilian League?
Those TOs, logically, right?
Yeah, right. And should, so now are we, like, they've intimated in that statement they're going to punish those coaches. They're going to wait and see what the ESIC investigation unfolds and take action. Well, I don't think necessarily if you cheat in one tournament, you should be penalized across the board in all of them. Maybe if we had some sort of like sanctified, world, organization that ran all these tournaments, you could organize something like that. But then we start getting into mad murky territory. Why don't you mirror ESL wire bans, for example? Should Simple be allowed to play at majors then? Now, if Valve decide retroactively to start banning people for things they're doing in leagues, ban them from the majors and major qualifiers, then we've got way more fucking questions to ask. And they've always kept a lid on that box for the obvious reasons.
If people are missing your point, what you're essentially saying is, like, think about it, right? The standard Valve held by default is we have a thing called Valve anti-cheat. If you didn't get caught by that, unless you're someone who Richard Lewis proved match fixed, you're fine. You can do literally anything. As you're saying, you can be simple and cheat on a ESL system. You can be other players I would insert now who had accounts that seemed to be associated with cheating and were never fully investigated. But you can do all these things. We only deal with Valve anti-cheat because logic is that's our anti-cheat. We're trying to maintain the integrity of that. Because by the same logic of what you're saying now, right? If you're going to ban people from events for doing this, I mean, at that point, you have to go full Riot Games. So now you have to go back and punish KNG for threatening someone's life. And you have to punish... I'd even consider certain things like Fur's brother should never be allowed to attend an event. There's a million factors that you should probably have to apply. That's going to be super difficult, by the way. Like I wouldn't want to be the person who polices that, but that's the point of a standard. Once you set that precedent, you've got to maintain it.
This is why, like, and this is a bigger topic.
Because basically, what I'm sick of, Richard, is Valve just is the absent parent who leaves the kids in the other room and then just waits until the racket gets so loud over their fucking American Gladiators. They come in and go, "You fucking kids, right? That's it, and just goes mental." Yeah. And they only have those two modes. They have totally absent, not at all giving a fuck, or just literally getting tilted that they have to get their ass out, finger out their ass, and just go and go mental on everyone. That's no way to run a scene, guys.
No, it's not. And listen, this is why I have urged people. It's why I urged everyone, right? Like, I know that there were a bunch of people who didn't have faith in ESIC. That's the Esports Integrity Coalition. And listen, I'm not an ESIC stooge, although full disclosure, I did speak at one of their annual general meetings because I believe in the work they do and I believe in the guy who's running it. And yeah, we all had a good laugh when they rushed out that NIP report and saw that there was no wrongdoing. Yeah, you know, we all had a laugh about that, right? We all know that, you know, there was some good points made in that report, but yeah, it was a whitewash job, in my opinion.
It felt like when all those fucking weapons inspectors were always going around like countries like fucking Iraq and going, "There's nothing here." It's like, you're not really doing like the fucking due diligence. You're just going, "Can I have a look in this room?" And they're like, "Sure," shuffling people behind them like, "Nothing in, broom cupboard." And they're like, "Oh, well, you're innocent." Yep. So it felt toothless. Yeah, that's what everyone thought before this.
But this is the thing, right? So ESIC were in such a weird position. They don't have a lot of staff, right? They were started by money that was the runoff from MTG because they wanted to create like an integrity coalition, somebody that could maybe get a handle on match fixing before it got out of control. Spoiler, it's out of control, guys. We didn't do it quick enough, right? I don't know what to tell you, but if you think this coaching stuff is bad, wait until the findings of their MDL investigation goes public and you realize that even a league as high up as MDL, right, which is the feeder league to what the biggest league we have in Counter-Strike, is ravaged with match fixing and fake games, right? And wait till that comes out, by the way. It's amateur hour. And that's before we get into Russia and China, where you cannot even speak out about match fixing or you will get clipped. You will get murdered, right? So we didn't get a handle on it in time. And match fixing, I'll say it, it's out of fucking control in the lower tier of Counter-Strike. If you bet on those games, you are a fucking sucker.
There's another thing I also hate. Listen, if you I understand the premise of a compromise, but even so, make the compromise so that it's still something where you have a standard. So, for example, if you're Valve and you ban iBuyPower for life for match fixing, and then go match fixing going on among tier 1 Chinese teams, I see nothing. You are corrupt as fuck. You are so corrupt, it's unreal. That's the point. If you know I'm not going to take action when could be the Saudi Arabia or something. Again, we're thinking of places where people wouldn't want to get, I wouldn't want to mess up my business for it. Then you can't ban the people in America. You can't do it. Like, there's no moral standard by which that would be reasonable.
No, not at all. So this is why I was always out there telling people like ESIC's the answer. This is the guy who runs ESIC is a sports lawyer that has represented both sides of the fence. He's represented leagues in the fight against corruption and match fixing, and he's represented players who were guilty of match fixing that got harsh penalties. He is the definition of balanced and understands the nuance of the situation. Because somebody who gets a gun literally pointed to their head and told you will throw this game or we will kill you and your family is not the same as some fucking wide cunt who throws all of his games and point shaves to make more money. They're not the same person, but they're committing the same crime. Context matters. It always matters. I know as a society, I know as in this period in human history, the thing that's been murdered to death, like literally butchered before our eyes, is context. We pretend it doesn't matter. Everything's black and white or binary. No, it's not. So ESIC was always an important important organization, but because they had that initial investment from MTG, there were people in the scene that went, it's just going to be another front for ESL, which isn't an entirely unfounded fear, because we've seen ESL do shit like that, like with Weezer, right? But ESIC was not the same. ESIC, it was financially beholden to a certain degree, but equally was completely independent in terms of how they were run. The input wasn't there. It was literally, here's the money, here's the seeding, go do your thing. And now they have got up to speed and they are running huge investigations that will change the entire landscape of esports. And as you know, developers don't give a shit. Do they want to tackle match fixing? No. I could have gone into Valve's office, right, with Sam. I'll even say Sam. Not someone who's competent, a stoner.
How dare you?
Right? Me and Sam could have gone into Valve's offices, and within 1 week, we would have wrapped up all of the match fixes. I knew what Steam accounts to look at, what days the matches took place on, what bets there were. I had all the records from CSGO Lounge. I'd have wrapped it up in a week, right? So what could Valve have done? They didn't care. It wasn't a priority. There you go. We've been draconian to these guys. I'm sure it'll never happen again, right? ESIC are doing that sort of shit now. Now, the developers don't want to necessarily cooperate. I mean, when I spoke at the annual general meeting, it was like they're still trying to explain to Activision Blizzard, yes, people are betting on the Overwatch League games. Yes, some of these bets are taking place in China. Yes, you have Chinese teams. Do I need to start spelling this out to you, what might be happening in your league? And they're just going, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. No one wants to get ahead of this bullshit. And the only people that are trying to do something is ESIC. I am telling you. So if you're a league, if you're a TO and you haven't signed up to ESIC, you're a fucking mug. You're a fool. Because when ESIC issue their bans, and they're going to ban these coaches, that every ESIC member will mirror the bans. It's the closest we get to that world organization. And we don't have to rely on Valve or Riot or anyone else. We all sign up to this contract, essentially, of behavior, and we let ESIC set the standard.
I'll give you another reason why
that's the only way it could work.
Because the other problem, we all ran into this. Listen, you're thinking Flashpoint. I didn't immediately go to them and go, right, first of all, can we remove MIBR? Can we fucking sort this out? Can we mirror the bans for Dead? Can we mirror the bans for, I mean, the others aren't in our league, but, mirror the bans for everyone. The problem they said to me, totally legitimate statement is, well, we haven't reviewed the evidence. So we can't just believe that because this guy from ESL said it, that means they didn't do it. We'd have to also do our due diligence. You don't have to if ESIC does it. If ESIC's the one, basically then all me and Richard have to do is keep people like ESIC honest. And then as long as they're honest and legit, we can all trust that they actually did it. And the one org who in theory is affiliated with the others can just give us the answer and then we can all mirror it from that. That would actually be a legit standard to do. Yeah.
Well, I think the members are obviously all the MTG leagues, right? So if you get it, the coaches that are going to get banned, they're gone from all of the big online leagues. They're gone from the DreamHacks. They're gone from ESEA. They're gone from, ESL, right? So if everyone was into that, like the penalties for this are wider. But here's the other crucial component. ESIC aren't going to throw lifetime bans out there like fucking Valve do.
Yes.
Right? ESIC have an appeals panel.
Great.
Right? It's the closest we're going to get to fucking being on top of this issue. And like I say, show me another body, by the way, that when this story first broke, that actually ponied up and said, we will review 25,000 demos going back to 2016 to completely clear up once and for all who's been cheating. Didn't see.
What have they got? Fucking MSL over there or something?
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, yeah, I've got the weekend free. No Frost again.
Yeah, it's wild, right? So ESIC are doing great work, and I hope every league and ladder will like sign up and get on board with them, because it's the only way we're going to start having any impact on these problems. Because China can do what it wants, Russia can do what it wants. You can't stop Chinese matches from being match fixed. You can't. It's that horse is all the way out the fucking barn. He's gone. He's over the hills, right?
Exactly.
But we don't have to let it start creeping into all these other endemic parts of the space. So I said, when the Valve waiting for ESIC, they won't mirror what ESIC do.
No way.
They've got zero interest in even taking advice directly from ESIC themselves. Why wouldn't Valve come out and sanction ESIC and say, listen, yeah, you know what? We have no interest in running that aspect of the scene, but we sanction ESIC to do it. We totally trust them. They've got the experience to prove it. No, they just don't care. They're going to wait. ESIC are going to carry all the water for Valve. Like I had to carry all the water for Valve with the iBuyPower issue. Literally had to spell it out for them. Literally had to show them the text messages with the times from the phone records and the games and the skins and just say, can you check the one thing I can't? And the result of that was one of the most egregious over-the-top bans of all time.
Like Erich, kill them all. Like God decide.
Yeah, exactly.
I think ESIC's such a good initiative that actually the 90s dance group, The Shaman, should come out and do a song called ESIC, which is like ESIC, cheating coaches can suck a dick.
Nice.
There you go. Good reference there for everyone who's about 38 or something.
So anyway,
and enjoyed the early 90s club scene.
So mate, pills ain't the same. All full of smack now. Anyway, move on.
That's what makes them good.
Yeah, no, you into all that. You into all that downers and lean.
No, mate,
you want that lean all the time.
Like as you're saying, the reason why we, Richard, hypothetically in a video game would try a pill, we'd all want that first one where it's the religious experience. Someone goes, watch out, mate, these are full of rat poison. He goes, what, free? They're free? Jokes on them.
Yeah, jokes on them. I love rat poison.
Exactly.
All right, anyway.
You are Smoothie's over there in the corner. Oh, help. I think I need to go.
You OD.
Like someone giving mouth to mouth. Oh, he's dying still. Shit, help.
Anyway.
Whatever.
All right, let's get on to some good news, right? Let's talk about our boy, Hank. HenryG obviously has been unveiled as the Cloud9 general manager, and not only
hasn't
that,
been too shy, has he? With how he's come out as well.
No, but like
Eric Bischoff, mate, from fucking WWE.
Mate, I can't lie. I do love the swagger. Like when he kept saying over and over again, like, I might not have the full lineup for Flashpoint, but that won't be an excuse. All the owners out there, I'm going to win that tournament. And then everyone's like, fuck, all right, fuck you hell.
Yeah, no, but like, so first of all, as I said in my video, I did a video for it, like over at Deserto, talking about why he's the right, guy for the job. And obviously biased as fuck, but just saying.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah,
why my long-time friend?
Yeah, why my long-time friend? Yeah, why I will never say anything bad about HenryG by HenryG's best mate, me. Yeah, obvious, right? But there's context to it. I explain my
Well, the fact you know him is why you give the background, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't all about like his temperament and who he was as a player and stuff.
And honestly, again, morons. There's just so many morons, the morons. I got so triggered because they didn't understand the Colossus thing. So he come out and said, my next move's going to be Colossal for the CS scene, right? Yeah. And then obviously Cloud9 said, we're going to have a Colossal announcement or something, right? This is, it's so you go on social media and chatter and speculate to drive hype for the move. And then when he come out and in the fucking thing, right? Yeah. Like Henry even said on the day it was announced, he goes, let's build a Colossus. Like, that's the giveaway, guys. In the Reddit, people go, well, this isn't Colossal for the move. No, you idiots. It's because Complexity have a fucking juggernaut, right? So they're going to have a Colossus. Like, you fucking morons, he doesn't really think it's Colossal for the CSA. It's branding, you fucking twats. It's branding. And they were literally going, well, this isn't Colossal. Yeah, Henry's ego is out of control, actually, I think, on this one. What would it, when he said Colossal, I thought he was going to go and work for Valve or something. Yeah, you fucking prat. You absolute prats! Dozens of comments like that, by the way. All of them sub 80 IQ. Why are they allowed a Reddit account? Why do I have to read it? Anyway. So, Henry has been unveiled as the Cloud9 general manager, and he's brought in Kassad as a coach, and I couldn't be happier, mate. I think this is a real good move, because one of the things that a lot of organizations fuck up on is they don't lay the foundations for a good team.
What I love there is that's how long we've been doing this show. You went fully to like a 10 out of 10, red in the face scream, and then you're like, within 2 seconds, just segued like, so anyway, the story continued.
Yeah, he's
he's trying to de-escalate it, right? Well,
we'll just carry on. Yeah, that's gone. But anyway, yeah. So a lot of org owners, because they know like one game, they make all the decisions in it, and then when they branch out into other games,
that's what I've been crying about all this year.
Yeah, I know.
Flashpoint, like as in, I've told this story before. I would go to an owner and say, right, I've got some banging players, like all levels. I've got like the cheap guy who's a gamble. I've got the legend who you might try and rehabilitate. I've got the guy now who's going to be the next star. I've got the guy who is a star now, but you're going to have to pay top dollar. Just tell me which ones you want. I'll set it up. They're all ready to come to Flashpoint. They'd go, I'm going to put you in contact with my GM. And what I discovered is the most nonsense concept ever. When you consider the amount that players are being paid and the amount of money, losing millions a year to run a CS division, these motherfucking orgs have one GM for the entire org. So I'm going to these guys, and sometimes I'm Googling the names. I barely know any of the names. I'll Google the name, and like, this guy used to be their Overwatch coach. This guy works in Rocket League. It's like, wait a minute, you're the general manager for CS as well? Is it? Well, I'm just the general manager. It's like, this is madness. This can't run this way. Like you cannot have a bit like the guy who's the general manager has to know the space. He has to know the free. Like, here's another one that you'd love, Rich. Some of them would even say, yeah, I'm interested in that player. How do I contact him? It's like, mate, I'm not doing your job for you. You're the general manager. If you can't contact free agents, surely you've basically failed the basic requirement of being a general manager. I mean, it's bad enough you weren't even aware what free agents are on the market. Like,
yeah.
Apparently you want them to just, you're like such a boomer. You actually think that the way people get gigs in CS is like the boomer advice of like, just go down to the office and, give them your resume and tell them you're up. But it's like, mate, they haven't done jobs that way for about 30 years. Like, it doesn't work. They don't, at Amazon, they're just going to put that straight in the bin out. They're not fucking hiring off that. Like, well, it seems like a good young man. Like, it doesn't exist. So I can corroborate. I'm not joking. I could count on one hand from what I've seen in CS of the people who are GMs who seem vaguely competent to even the basics of the job.
Mate, by the way, just as an aside, Henry told me the other day, like we were having a chat, like we've been, because he's like stuck up by himself at the moment in Malta.
Oh, he's only the one, because they're all in Germany.
Yeah, because they're all in Germany. So it's like I've been like, on his birthday, we had a few beers and played like some virtual golf and stuff, But anyway, he was telling me he's had some of the most unbelievably stupid emails he's ever received in his life.
What do you mean he's trying to pursue players and stuff?
Well, yeah, because he said like, I'm pursuing players, but like he had one email like where somebody like sent him an email saying, my dad is always telling me to get my name out there. And I was like, oh my god, the poor kid thinking this is how it works. Oh yeah, come aboard Cloud9 then, mate. Yeah, here's $1 million contract.
Yeah, I'm not even joking, because back in the day when I used to be the editor-in-chief of SK Gaming, I've told this story before, but it's worth it.
Yeah, all the time.
We used to stupidly just leave like a fucking contact at SK Gaming, like on the website, right? That was only supposed to be for like sponsors or some like bit, or like maybe something's broken with the website. People would send in emails. These are genuine. They weren't even trolls. This is before there even were proper trolls in the way you're all thinking of it, right? People would send in these heartfelt long emails, always fucking long as well, like the whole life story. And the gist of them would be like this: look, I know you probably get this all the time, but I'm the real deal. I am getting 30 bombs regularly in India's top public gaming servers. And I know I don't speak Swedish, but I feel like if you just give me a shot, listen, I promise I'm good for my word. If you just give me a shot at SK Gaming Sweden, I will not let you down. Then they'd put like their fucking phone number or something at the bottom. It's like, the best part is, by the way, I'm reading it like the editor-in-chief. Like, I'm obviously not forwarding that to the coach of the fucking team. Like, I used to just think like, guys, when they say, shoot your shot, You have to at least have a target to fucking aim at. You don't. That's like just putting. That's like just writing your dream on the back of a fucking fag packet, throwing it into the ocean, and just hoping it gets to someone who goes like Elon Musk goes, funded. Like, it's never gonna happen, is it? This is 0% chance.
I used to I used to get that shit as well. Like when I was editor at Cadred and obviously later Tech9. I used to just get all the same stuff, and it's like they don't even know what we do. They haven't even gone to the website, because you would see we're a news website. We're a news and features website, right? And people would be going, "We would like to be your official Counter-Strike team." Oh, I don't have one on my news website. What are you fucking talking about? It was like we used to get that all the time, mate. Like just idiots. But yeah, Henry's had all that basically the last few days. But anyway, look, as I said, the thing that people get wrong usually in orgs is they think because they're playing their like Moneyball fucking fantasy, they basically get to build all of the teams in all of the games, and it leads to like some really incompetent pickups. It leads to situations like, especially in League, where we've seen like some outrageous contracts.
Oh, some really bad ones.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about with Dignitas. You know, some outrageous decisions are getting made because, you know, it's people not knowing like market value, who's actually good. Also, people picking up players who have massive personal problems that you would know about if you were endemic to the scene, because people talk, but you don't. You just see their Twitter metrics or Twitch numbers or whatever it is, and you pick them up and bring them into the organization. It's like, fucking hell, mate. You know, like, it can't work like that. But anyway, by putting Henry in charge, first of all, you've got a guy who, like, he's got a very clear vision about how he wants to do the GM stuff, which is why he said right from the get-go, we're going to announce every sign-in with all of the contract details, how much the contract's worth. Going to do it like a football, you know, release, which hasn't been done before. I can see immediately you've got your opinions about that. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. And obviously, they've gone and got Kassad, who's one of the most respected coaches, in World Counter-Strike. And I made a point in that video. People were saying, is he really, though? Is he really good? It's like, mate, you don't always have to win trophies to prove that you are an amazing coach. It's about how much you get out of the teams you've got. And in his 2 stints with Renegades, I pointed to in 2018 where he finished runner-up at ECS with the fucking Renegades teams that had just brought in Gratisfaction and Liaz, right? And they finished above MIBR. They finished above Team Liquid, I think it was. They finished above Cloud9. You know, that's like, you know, that in and of itself is like just a legit finish.
I don't think people realize, like, think about this, right? Think about the fact, like, put it this way, who here has Greyhound in their top 10 in the world rankings? Nobody, right? But they've won every tournament in like Oceanic region because nobody gives a fuck about the Oceanic region. Nobody thinks it's good. It has no resources. Everyone's a million bazillion miles apart. Like basically some of the main cities in Australia are like, if I had one team playing from fucking like New York to fucking Russia or something utterly insane like that. Like you can't even practice each other properly with proper ping. So in that scenario, making top 4 at a major with a team like that made up of Australian players and one guy from fucking Norway is better than winning a major with like Team Liquid right now. It's actually more of an accomplishment. That's not even a joke. So like the idea that doesn't make you an amazing, are you out your fucking mind? What do you? Yeah. It's not only about trophies. We can all list some coaches who won trophies and weren't even that good, who their own teams flamed. So, like, yeah, that kills me, mate. Like, the Kassad signing's a fucking straight fire first signing. There's another person that a lot of Flashpoint orgs don't listen. This is what's great about the role I'm in, mate. Because essentially my persona is part of the branding of Flashpoint. I'm allowed to flame even the partner teams. So I'm going to be making fun of some of those partner teams for years that they just passed on Kassad and kept people where some of you couldn't even name some of their coaches. Like, that's how bad it is. So I thought that was a straight fire sign. No, what triggered me was when he revealed all the salaries. All the dickhead fans who always have to have the strongest opinion while knowing nothing, and a few of the clout chasers in the scene were like, nah, I don't like this move. You shouldn't reveal those. I remember just thinking, this is one thing I can't handle. You know, I've told you I get triggered by the people where if it's Valve or Riot, they believe that the TOS was handed down by God at the beginning of the universe being created. And that's just a law of physics that you can't violate because in the TOS. They don't even bother to notice you could upgrade the TOS. You could, you know, change it. Like you could ignore it if you Valve, it's your TOS. But what they do is they act like, well, you broke the TOS. Those are the rules. But then when, for example, let's imagine I was a really rich guy who owned an org and then I signed some players and I said, you know what? Since they're my players that I've signed, I'm going to reveal how much they paid. And some random little dickhead goes, you shouldn't do that. Go, why not? Spurious reasons. All right, well, I'll just do what you say then with my fucking money. Like, do you guys not understand the concept of like property? Like, you know, who actually has the ownership right? Like, it's fucking mental, isn't it? Like, you don't get to vote an org off the island because they just did something that's not even vaguely illegal.
No, so I mean, with in regards to showing the salaries, I know it prompted a big debate about, you know, whether like how good it would be for the esports scene.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it does have some negatives,
Of course.
but everything does. I like again. This comes down to, I know this is very hard for people to grasp, and I just said it earlier, but it's a point that needs to be repeated ad infinitum until people get it. Not every problem has a perfect solution or even an elegant solution that addresses 99% of the sort of subdivision of problems within a problem.
I'd even say that's half the problem with the world, that people think that there is solution. It's called like solutionism or something. The idea that everything has a solution, because that's how you go towards these mad. Like sometimes you have to just say, I guess I sort of like it. I don't like, but I can't really say. Like you have to give it the benefit of the doubt, sort of.
Yeah, and I think with this one, right, so obviously the downside to having the salaries being public is that there are some players that when they're that get above market value, and when that is made public, they will be ridiculed, castigated, and as a result, people will know, well, like, he's obviously not worth that. Look at what the gallery is saying. Look at what all the experts are saying. And probably when he comes around to getting his contract renewed, the org's going to go, listen, we massively overpaid you last time, so if you want to stick around, you're probably going to have to take a pay cut. Or if he decides to leave, he's not going to get that again. Also, as well, I mean,
that was also the fringe case, if you ask me. Here's the real reason.
Totally, it's fringe
here's
case.
Here's the real reason why no orgs want that happening. They're worried about the other guy, the one who's a fucking straight fire player, and he thinks, I'm on pretty good money. My owner's my friend. I make 12,000, and he's about to find out that some dog shit player for a bad team makes 20,000 a month. So you know what? He's about to then have insane leverage when he next negotiates. Now that's only a problem in two scenarios. One, if you're underpaying your players. Two, if people can't really afford to pay everyone the top salary in the game and you sort of like can't really have a business model this manner. Wouldn't that be fucking delicious? Because that's exactly what we fucking told you at the beginning of the year. So what's mad is that's also where people aren't being consistent, Rich. They can't be on the side of the players on every issue, but then be against them on this one, because this is players that generally will benefit from this. I know years and years ago, this is one of the areas where I hate League of Legends fans, because League of Legends fans just believe any old shit someone in a position of authority tell them. So years ago, when Noah Winston famously said they should sell the salaries, all these dickhead agents were coming out, and people like your boy fucking Ryan Morrison going, everyone in the scene knows what everyone makes. And I was like, mate, I can tell you factually that's not even true. Like, I know players who ask me, like, is this a reasonable amount? I'm like, listen, I'm not with an org, so I can just tell you, no, this other player makes twice what you make, and he's actually worse than you. And then they would be like, oh, fuck, but my agent just said it was a good deal. I was like, yeah, because your agent literally gets a percentage of you signing a deal, mate. He doesn't really play hardball or sit out, but like, he'll never do that. Like, that's not in his interest. And unfortunately, most of those guys do not have a legal financial fiduciary responsibility. They can basically act in their own interest. It's actually half the fucking problem with lawyers and agents. So like in that scenario, it is a total myth that all pro players know what everyone makes. And that is not even vaguely close. Maybe the really shrewd ones do. Loads of them don't. I'd say like over half probably don't really know. They can ballpark guess, but when I say a ballpark, it's not a very good ballpark. It's like within 5 or 10th grand of what the person makes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think, you know, all of the goods that come out of it, like you say, first, obviously, you've nailed the big one. Also, as well, it stops what I know has gone on in the past, where owners of organizations that are friendly with each other, and there's more of those than you think, basically agree that they're never going to pay above a certain amount for a player. It's sort of creating a soft salary cap in what should be an open scene with potential and limited earnings.
I'll give you the dirtiest example ever. You know it. Yeah. It's a classic one.
Yeah.
Right? One of the reasons why World of Warcraft 3v3, that arena mode, became actually for a while a big esport was because since they used to embed it in the client, and obviously World of Warcraft had a bazillion players, so you didn't even need a good conversion rate to get a lot of people watching. And the players in the game, uniquely, because that was what was bizarre about that game, were like the highest ranked players in the world who were like the god tip. So I had every factor to make people watch. It used to get 100K live viewers back when getting like 50K live viewers was like, holy shit, the biggest event of the entire year for SEA. And it was just doing that regularly. So as a result, right, all these esports org picked up these banging players and were sending them to tournaments, and it had like a full MLG circuit and a European circuit. It was an IEM Masters. Here's what people don't know, and I worked for SK Gaming, so I can tell you this for a fact. A whole bunch of the big orgs, nearly all European at the time, just got together, like Richard's talking here. Like every idiot on Reddit will tell you never happens, and they all tell you conspiracies don't exist. How could anyone keep a secret? I'm the only one who's ever revealed this, right? They all got together, and they basically, in a back room, let's just do it for the analogy, with all the fucking big cigars, this game's massive, so problem is, could get real dirty if we start fighting each other, gentlemen. Another guy, what if we were to come to an agreement, though? Let's all agree. And are you ready for the punchline, guys? They all agreed. Let's all agree not to pay them any salary. That way they can't leave our teams and go for another one. Let's just agree that we'll all pay them now, but they'll get the prize money and they get money for that. And they did. That's as far as I know what they actually went forwards and did. That's how dirty these people are if you give them a fucking inch.
Yeah. So, you know, having it out there publicly prevents the instances like that as well. So, yeah, lots of good things. I'm glad Henry's doing it, but the only way it can realistically work is if everyone else agrees to sort of, you know, a league could insist, for example, like Flashpoint could say, if you're playing Flashpoint, you have to make all your salaries and all that information public. If you don't want to agree to that, then you don't play in the league. ESL could do that, make all their teams make all of their salaries and contract lengths and all of that stuff public. I think it would help the players immensely, although some players do seem reticent, a little bit reluctant to have that information out in the public domain. I don't know why. I think some people are actually embarrassed about what they earn. And it's like, you've got to get past that if you ever want to earn more.
I agree, but that's another area where, listen, I totally understand that if you're a pro player, especially after the skins era, when you were being told to kill yourself every time you fucking, sometimes when you won a game, I would cry because you won the game. So I understand you don't want any more attention on social media. And so I can already anticipate, and this will happen, just like Virtus Pro, where it's made public that you're the highest paid, then when you lose, it will be an albatross around your neck and it will haunt you. And every shithead 14-year-old will say, you don't deserve that salary. You should fucking give it back, traitor, piece of shit. Like that should be going to this other guy. And it'll be more hate. But here's the problem. And I know this is going to be a harsh truth to swallow, but it's the fact. That is the territory that comes with. So even though I totally do feel for you getting that, you are also getting the 20K a month. Understand that. Like, I can make this all go away. There's an office job nearby. You're going to work in a cubicle. You get paid 20 grand for the year, and then maybe there's a salary. Like, do you want to do that? Because if you do that, I can take all the hate away from you online. But if you want to make the 20K a month, by the way, I hope even if you're actually one of these guys, by the way, don't ever for 1 second ever criticize an NFL or NBA player over having a big contract, because you're doing the same thing, you daft cunt. Like, the difference is theirs is known, and yes, people ride those guys fucking hard when they have an enormous contract and they underperform. That's unfortunately, again, the downside that comes with being basically made wealthy by playing the game.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about the first signing they made. They've obviously announced Alex. I mean, I think this was pretty easy to guess. He's been out there for a while now. He's been obviously still contracted to Vitality.
That's the problem.
Yeah, but you know, was a desirable pickup as an in-game leader. And you know, listen, I've said this. I think Alex has proven himself to a certain degree, but I am absolutely going to judge him based on this because. Yes. While he was at LDLC, I think that there was a period of time where, well, I don't even think he was the IGL when he was at LDLC.
He was at the end.
Yeah, he took over at the end.
Yeah.
And then when he moved to Vitality and came in to replace Happy, obviously they did have a sudden spike in performance, you know, and he wasn't just an in-game leader, he was obviously contributing on the scoreboard as well, and he took them up to number 2 in the world. That achievement loses a little bit of its shine now that Vitality, yes, online era, etc., have now gone to number 1 in the world without him. It would have been much better if they tape it off and stayed.
It's not the end storyline, is it? Where it's never with the same without. I agree. Listen, I'll be totally fair. I've obviously sung Alex's praises. That makes me have to apply harder questions as well and say, oh, was I just actually like giving too much of the credit to him? Like, for example, at the same time, I was also told by many Vitality players that, for example, their coach is some like super wizard guy who's made, well, you know what? It's starting to look like he's got some fucking chops, hasn't he? I mean, he's taken Apex IGL to number one team of the world. So I'm with you on that one. Like, the problem is, this is the control group, because this is Alex with totally different players, none of them from the French scene, and no ex-Stars behind him. He's got Kassad. Now let's see what he can do. I agree. If he makes good of this team, that's when he gets like true status, where he will be considered a Carrigan, a Glaive. That's when he'll get that level.
Yeah, and look, I'll tell you, Alex is obviously a smart and savvy guy. I want to get an interview with him at some point. Now that obviously Henry's the GM, I reckon I might just be able to swing it. But I do want to talk to him, because I saw he did this interview where he said like he wants to prove he can get results without the best player in the world, which shows a great level of self-awareness. You know, again, Nico, pay attention, mate. This is like what in-game leaders sound like. But also,
I mean, some could say Nico's trying to prove he can get results without the best player in his own team. So.
Yeah. But, you know, like, I want to ask him, because I still don't buy this storyline about, he was burnt out, and he wanted to retire, he didn't want to travel, he didn't want to be a pro no more. He's literally gone from a team that was number 2 in the world, where it was very comfortable, and he had the most value, probably, of any member in that team. He was safe, he was going nowhere. He leaves because he says he needs to have a break and he doesn't like being a pro and all the travel and all that, just as COVID happens, by the way. And now he's going to rebuild Cloud9, arguably the biggest North American brand, that have had 2 years without any sort of tangible success since they won the Boston Major and broke apart, you know, not the world's number 1 team, but the team that won the world championship. So I really want to pick his brains about it, mate, because none of that rings true. Like, this is a big job for him that he's taken on, especially when you consider they're going to be rebuilding a team from scratch. Like, he's going to have his work cut out for him. Like, think about all the free agents that are out there right now, and you know, you don't know who they're going to get, do you? You don't know who you're going to get. It's certainly not necessarily going to be like the team they're going to.
Slam dunks, put it that way. They're all like gambles on some level.
Yeah, the team they roll out now is not going to be the team they have, like, I'll say 6 to 9 months from now. There are going to be some placeholder players.
Sure.
Because there's going to have to be. Because, you know, they've got commitments to Flashpoint, everything else.
And people won't be available yet. You have to wait till that guy's contract ends or whatever. You can't buy everyone out, guys, as you see by the price of the fucking Alex deal.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that was the other thing as well. Everyone going, fucking hell, look how much money that is. It's like, I don't think people have been paying attention.
They don't read, do they?
Yeah, no. You know, I don't think
people
have been
even said
attention
total value of the deal. They were like, so is that his salary?
I know. No, that is the total value.
Please just read words, please.
Yeah. That was the total value of the deal, yeah. But anyway, so overall, good pickup for Cloud9?
Put it this way, except for a world where I've kind of alluded to this before, one of the things about Cloud9 was, listen, they definitely fucked up by picking up the NA team, but that team essentially was a placeholder. Either you struck lucky and you had a lottery ticket and they just rose up and they became some mega team, in which case maybe you could have kept them. But being as your Cloud9, you were always looking for people, and you were either going to get, you needed like a Nico or Cold Zero, or you were going to just buy a whole lineup. That might have been Astralis, it might have been Fnatic, it might have been Mousesports. Oh, what's that Astralis players who are watching but pretend you don't watch? Your org would sell you to some fucking org that's nothing like yours and doesn't have all spots. They'd sell you in a fucking instant to fucking Fulsa Doom out of fucking Conan, you daft twat. And they'd fucking pat you on the arse on the way out, you fucking imbecile. But anyway, keep believing all that shit as you prepare to become the in-game leader device, you dumb fuck. Anyway, didn't let any bit of a seek through that one. I'll stay. Calm down. Sorry. Right,
no, listen, I just like the Conan reference. I'm on board.
Wasn't a bad. Listen, for a reach, wasn't bad, was it?
Mate, did you know one thing? I remember, like, it's like I'm losing my mind. I remember ages ago, like, I was telling my mates, you know what'd be great? A Conan the Barbarian musical. This is like 15 years ago, something insane. Right. And I even, like, you know, said, oh, you could do this song, Tree of War. It went on to happen. There is a Conan the Barbarian musical now.
Now you're actually really scared that this whole world is literally a solipsistic simulation in your brain.
Mate, I've been thinking this for a while.
Basically, here's the problem you have, Richard. And I won't lie, I have the same problem. So if anyone's ever seen the movie Enter the Void, It's like that. Here's the you know, before you've ever taken strong psychedelics, right? Because you've never had your reality properly fucked, you naively think like a kid watching a movie. This is going to be brilliant. Imagine if I really believe in aliens. No, that's the worst thing. Because here's the problem: you now have to doubt your own fucking sanity. So here's the problem: I have to anytime anything goes too well in my life, I have to actually, for at least 5 minutes, contemplate. Maybe I just never came down from that enormous dose of mushrooms I once took. Maybe I'm still right now, if you know maybe I'm still lying on a floor in a really cheap hotel in Amsterdam, just eating a fucking toasty, and I'm about to come down and go, the fucking 2007. You mean none of that was real? And they're like, my mate would be like, why the fuck would esports have become a giant thing? You roasted Shaq, you dickhead. And I'd go, yeah, you know what? Pass that split. In a video game.
Mate, though, I tell you, though, it fucking honestly, like, you're right. Like, when you've... I remember back when we used to do Trash Talk, we used to have a guy who used to come on. We'd talk about all the psychedelic fucking experiences that we'd had and all that stuff. And I was trying to explain, like, what it's like when you've taken DMT and you've taken it in the right proportion, not the fractal... colors and shapes level of
really
DMT. When you actually are astrally projected somewhere else, and it's kind of like it's not the same as like if anyone's ever experienced ego death, where your personality ceases to exist and you have just an experience.
That's not like mushrooms,
ayahuasca. With DMT, it was like I retained like aspects of who I was. So I was trying to explain to people like what it's like to do DMT, right? I admit I walked on the surface of other planets, like utterly convinced it was real. Like was gone for years, but then you come out of the trip and your mates are there, and you've only been wrecked for 15 minutes. Like, that time dilation is mental.
Here's how you know if it really worked. This all sounds stupid, because obviously, logically, you know it can't be the case. But if it works too well, like I just said, it works too well. And the problem is, the experience you had that you must know was the trip feels realer than your life you just came back to. That's where, like I say, you have to start going, now I've just lived the rest of my life with the question of whether this is the dream.
Yeah, no, but because of that residual, because you don't get a hangover with it, but you do have that residual like few hours afterwards when you're still on the come down, where there is a dream-like quality to reality. Like it's fucking wild, dude. Like, and you try explaining this shit that you've seen to people. I can't. Like, I always said like I would tell the story because we have a guy who calls in regularly. He's been trying to get in touch with me recently. I just haven't had time starting a new job and everything. But he is convinced he was abducted by aliens, right? And where we connected on it was, I said like, I saw alien beings one time when I was doing like psychedelics, and it's well documented that when you do certain types of psychedelics, but they're always described the same: beings of pure light, and they're blue. And they come all the time. I've met the blue people, right? And you can't talk about meeting the blue people because people think you're fucking mental when you start talking about meeting the blue people. But I've met and had telepathic conversations with the blue people, right?
My favourite one was Simon.
Then they don't have...
That's actually shit, unless you know what I'm talking about.
Right? But anyway, his aliens were blue. So, we've never had the conversation. We keep teasing each other that we're going to do it. Because it's just too mental, mate. It's just too mental to sort of perceive that the walls of reality are just all so easily torn down. Like, handful of mushrooms here, smoke this. It's wild as fuck, mate. I don't even know how the fuck we've got onto it.
Anyway, that was just about Cloud9 and the fact that they were going to sign all these like straight fire lineups or whatever. But here's the point. In lieu of doing that, and I will say, by the way, listen, I'm glad it ended up going this way. Like, I actually agree with the HenryG move, the Kassad move. I even think Alex is the best free agent IGL available. Like, I know Lecro was on people's radar. Alex is better. I'll just say it right now. I think so personally. So I'm glad it was done. But I do secretly wish they'd have just signed like one of the top 5 teams in the world. Obviously, it would just be because that is the slam dunk move. But in lieu of that, if you're going to build a team, I actually think Henry's explanation of how he's building the team and the fact that at this position, I'm going to take a less famous guy, but because he'll fit with this other person and he wants to play that role, that is how GMs should operate. and there are almost no GMs in esports do. Even players. Listen, if watching Nico and FaZe over the last 2 years hasn't convinced you of this, nothing will. Players themselves don't understand the other roles. They themselves think you just get a guy who's good and he's got good aim, and then I'll tell him how to learn that role. Like, what are you talking about? That would be like if an NFL team just recruited the fastest person at a high school and we're like, it's all right, we'll just teach him all the routes and make him a wide receiver. It's like, well, no, you just go get a wide receiver. Now I'll do it with this guy. You're setting people up for failure. So I think basically the people they've got thus far, I've just realized I almost could have fucked up and said some of the names there. But I didn't. I just said the names of the people who were signed. But keep that in mind. So the people they've signed so far, HenryG, Kassad, Alex, these are all good signs in my opinion. They all have good upside. The gamble element's fairly low. It's very unlikely they're all going to be really about their jobs. I think it's a pretty good start.
And listen, I'll also add as well, like, we are entering a phase where it turns out that, like, not buying holistic, complete teams can actually work. It wasn't the prescribed wisdom that people used to do it. It used to be if you were building a team by just taking disparate, parts from other teams and players from all over the world that all speak different languages, you're actually hindering yourself. But we've had complexity, successful project, OG obviously to a lesser extent as well. If you want to go right the way back, I mean, that's essentially what FaZe was, wasn't it? So, there've been some notable examples that this can work. It's just that you've got to get the right blend of players in the right positions. And I would even go so far as to say you must absolutely know about the up and coming talent. Yes. That is crucial to what you're doing here, because all the established guys, like, with some notable exceptions. Well, you either can't afford them, or they don't want to leave, or they're locked into unbelievable contracts. So you get like this Cloud9. I'll prepare people for it now. They're going to pick up at least probably 2 names. People are going to go.
Oh, they're going to go roast them. Yeah.
But you have to trust in Kassad and you have to trust in Henry that they know what they're doing. Trust the process. Exactly. By the way,
that in itself shows that Cloud9 has turned the corner. Because one thing I can tell you is when I was telling them, listen, either you get the lineup or get this guy, or you know what? I've alluded to this on Twitter. There was a bunch of high-level players, really big names. This would have been the kind of lineup people thought this Cloud9 was going to be. There was a team like that, players who haven't all played together, who wanted to make a super team, and all they did was they looked up their buyouts, and listen, it was expensive. It was like $4 million, $5 million. But if you did it, you had a team that from day one, match one, could be number 1 in the world. Now, I took this to teams. Now, here's one of the problems. Unfortunately, and it makes perfect sense, Jack from Cloud9 didn't really want to try fucking building a team piecemeal from Europeans. That's sort of what fucked him the last 2 years, isn't it? And it never worked out. And I've actually got that video I've been promising to do. I've basically got it all scripted now. It's going to come out in the next few days, where what I do is I'm going to review 2018 and 2019 for Cloud9. I'm going to give you my own thoughts, but I'm also going to sprinkle in a little bit of detail that actually I got from the Cloud9 owners as to why they did this move or didn't go with that move. So it's not going to be all, like, it's not like a million insights in it, but basically what I'm going to show you is it's way better than you think it is. Now, that sounds mad because they had almost no results. But basically, when you see, I've never seen an org this unlucky. It's one thing that a player's Halo. They had everything happen, and it was like one after another after another. And basically, like, the spoiler is, the best lineup they had played one LAN together ever.
Yeah.
Now, in that scenario, everyone could fail like that. Every single person making a Frankenstein team could fail like that. So the problem is, and that's basically obviously the issue, that when you build a Frankenstein team, there's no established core with a certain level of team play. Like, if you have the core, you can bring a piece in, bring a piece out, you can have a stand-in, maybe it can work. You can't do that if you build the team, because it'll never have that original synergy. You're constantly changing players.
Well, it's Theseus' ship, isn't it? Yeah.
So I don't blame them for initially being scared of that. So that actually suggests to me, by the way, they've got a lot of faith in Henry and Kassad, that they were like, right, let's go down that boot again.
Yeah. And I like to say, I've been loving how Henry's been handling the media and putting the swagger out there, just so people realize the reason Henry is saying all of these, like, grandiose statements isn't because he's a fucking deranged narcissist. He's doing it because it's how he motivates himself. Like, it's because he understands in his mind, if he fails, he will look ridiculous. So it's like, that's how he motivates himself.
He's burning the ships so he can't turn back.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how he does it. So, I've known him, like I said, I've known him since he was 16. So when he started taking on leadership roles, which, by the way, about as early as 18 or 19, You know, he was the leader in his notable teams. He basically, that's how he motivates himself. Like if he's doing an interview, he'll say we're going to win this tournament and essentially set himself up for the fall, so he knows mentally he's going to give it his all, because you don't just lose, you lose and look ridiculous. And you know that's how he fires himself up. So
it's basically what I did with Flashpoint.
Yeah.
When I joined Flashpoint, because by the way, it's not even a joke. I didn't come up with this as a cool storyline. I joined not because they offered me a good job. I joined because I actually looked at what they were saying about the landscape and the economics, and I got a lot of information at the time people didn't know in the public. And I actually realized, fuck, they're right. Like everyone's going to bleed out within like 3 to 5 years. Then the only people who will buy in, because we haven't got any monetization still except sponsorship, is going to be literally the shadiest people in the world. It'll be everyone from China, everyone from Saudi Arabia. That will be the only people willing to spend those millions. And they'll essentially only be doing it as good PR for the evil shit they're doing on the side. And I thought, I can't let CS do this if I'm going to be part of it. So what I decided was, that's why from day one, before I even knew all the teams, I was going hard. And I was saying, like, eventually this will be the number one. Eventually this will win, because it has to. And if it doesn't, I won't be there. And so I'm also doing it to hold myself accountable. I'm not going to be the guy who 3 years from now it's shit and I'm like, well, I got paid. No, I'll be gone. I'll leave if that. So it's the way to hold myself accountable. Yeah, I can fuck with that mentality. I know to other people it might seem strange, but you've got to know the way your own process works and how to manipulate it, sort of.
Yeah, totally, exactly, and Henry does. So looking forward to seeing how it works out with Cloud9, and I think it's great to see that. You know, I know we lost like a great commentator and everything, but I'm liking watching all of us, that, you know, all the people that I've grown up with, like segue into our new roles.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see Moses go and transition into being a coach. I know he's an amazing commentator. It's great to see Henry go on to be a GM. I know he's an amazing commentator, and we're going to miss him in that role. But also as well, like, you know, we've been crying out for, well, I say we, the community, have been crying out for fresh blood to come through in the commentary, new voices, and this is a nice way for them to get their shot. You know, the Hugos and the Harrys, and you know all the other names that I'm missing out. It's you know, it's great. It's nice to see this natural progression that wasn't there when we started. You basically clung on for fucking dear life for as long as you could, because if you ever got fired, there was nothing to go to. You just starved. You know, you went. It happened to me. You know, when I was working at Amiga sector and that went bust, that LAN center I was running, I had to go back to writing for a fucking city council magazine.
Yeah.
You know, it was dog shit. It was miserable. So it's great to see.
Listen,
anyway,
I won't lie. I shed a tear for a good 0.1 seconds that ESL lost their premier caster. Fuck, that really hurt me in my heart. No. So, meanwhile, now I can also have them on my broadcast. Fuck.
I know. Great show, by the way. I've been under the weather for the last 2 days, so I've actually had time to watch all of your content that you've put out these past 3-4 days. So, I'm going to talk about after this last news story. Yeah.
One other thing to say. One other thing is this. Listen, even though he's the most lovable guy ever, there is something about Moses' career where he almost gets like haunted by bad luck. So, for example, as far as I'm concerned, he was the talent that had the most leverage of anyone. He could do desk. He was like fucking beloved. He was a color commentator. He could play by play if he wanted. He could do everything. He would always be the guy getting paid the latest, getting reamed out by all the TOs. Yeah. Now he becomes the coach. Thanks, Doran. I'm finally out of that world of all that stress. All coaches except you have cheated, and Valve may remove the role entirely. Like,
I know.
Give me a break. I've just signed that contract.
The one thing I'll say about that, and it's a point, I've got a video coming out over on Deserto where I talk a bit more explicitly about it, so I didn't want to repeat it on the podcast. But basically, I think the top organizations will, you know, even if Valve say and they decide like no league can have coaches talking to the players, or we'll just take away your license to run the game, which, by the way, they're well within the rights to do. That's the tyranny of the developer that we all sign up to. If you want to use their game, their intellectual property, they get to call the shots even on the minutiae like that. And if they feel strongly enough about this issue, because when coaches are cheating, guess what problems that leads to? Well, now all of the bets that have been placed on those games are compromised. And what if the betting companies get fucking pissed off? What if people want to sue the betting companies? What if there's an investigation from the police? By the way, that's all coming, you know. Like, ESIC, it's going to be ESIC for now. And probably we've already got police investigations going on with the MTL over in Australia. So yeah, it's coming, guys. The rain is gonna come down so hard on these people fixing games for $500 fucking and stuff like that. You're gonna get absolutely wrecked, possibly jail time. If you're throwing matches, fucking stop now. You're gonna get caught, and it's not gonna be a slap on the wrist and banned from the league. It's those guys in Australia are gonna be fighting for their lives. Anyway, whatever. But the point is, Valve could literally stop all coaches tomorrow. Like, they just don't exist. You're not allowed to have them anymore. So we don't know if that's going to happen. I hope it won't. I think they'll ban them from Valve tournaments. I don't think they'll put their foot down and insist everyone does. But the top tier organizations, they'll be able to keep the coaches, because there's value. There's value in what Moses does behind the scenes, coaching the team, motivating the guys, doing conflict resolution, which is something that wasn't there before. There's obviously value to that. But if you're a tier 2 organization, or even some of the ones at the lower end of tier 1, there's no point in keeping a guy around.
No.
There's no point in keeping a guy around who can't even stand behind a team, especially when you've got an in-game leader that realistically can prepare the demos, do the analysis, coach the guys, do the playbook. So yeah, these little cunts who fucking cheated may have just wiped out an entire economic tier of our landscape. They may have made a job completely obsolete. And if that happens, I tell you, guys, I'm going to fucking be on you. You think that MIBR article is bad? Right? With all of their shit laid out there, I will fucking haunt you to the ends of the earth everywhere you fucking go. Because what you've done is so shameful. Even the iBuyPower guys didn't do that. If anything, they died for the sins of everyone else. You guys have fucking took jobs potentially away from good people who didn't cheat. You should be absolutely, utterly ashamed if that happens.
The only thing I'll say is, the one thing that can save it is if they all get fired, and I'll say this right now, just so they're aware, if you were a good coach, like one with a profile and a name, listen, I'll get you a GM job. Just let me know. I'll put you in contact. That's the one way we could potentially upgrade the GM position, because that would be the new thing that you could do, build a team, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So look, I'll just do this last news story, and then we'll talk about your content. We'll do the viewer questions.
Oh, this one ties into what I just said, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So Daps stepping down
Another
from
bad luck Brian of fucking CS.
I know, the bad luck Brian, mate. I was just thinking of that fucking meme. It's like unbelievable. I don't even understand this. Like at this time, right? Let's be absolutely clear at what has gone on with GenG, right? They shot up from some insane, they were the 50th team in the world. They have been in and around, they've been solid top 20 now for months, pretty much for all of 2020. I want to say, right? Yeah, they've won events. I know it hasn't been so great. They're struggling. They've definitely got teams that are their fucking nemesis. They struggle against fucking Furia. We know how it is. They've had they get wrecked by evil geniuses every time they play them. They've even had losses to Chaos. I don't think there's any shame in that. I think Chaos have been doing particularly well, especially, at a time when obviously something's gone on behind the scene. But I don't understand how Daps is carrying the can here. Let's look at all of the good that Daps has done here with GenG. First of all, built this team. He's, brought the best out in Bentet. Bentet's proven himself. I mean, obviously, the Krieg nerf definitely helped as well, because AK reigned supreme again. But, Bentet's been doing amazing since he settled in. Som's been, the hot prospect for fucking 5 years or something. Everyone was talking about this kid when he was streaming for Complexity and how he was going to be the next big thing. And it never materialized. And then he's become, a complete player under Daps. He's resurrected Kusta's career. He's brought Automatic back. Yeah, I agree. On paper, this team should probably be better than it actually is. But fucking hell, the online era couldn't have more asterisks after it now. Smoke bugs, coaches cheating everywhere. Online games are a shit show anyway, especially in NA, where fucking players don't even try hard. This isn't the time to cut a proven team-building IGL from an ambitious project, and no sign of who they're going to get to replace him.
Those are the two parts that trigger me, mate. One, if you kick a guy like Daps, or pick any of them that are good at it, like Carragher and the rest, it's Nico's folly. You better have the next guy lined up, and they better be better than that guy, or have the potential to be. If you don't, you're just an idiot. That's like cutting a franchise quarterback, and you don't even have one coming in the door. You've just got who should we get then?
Yeah.
And then secondly, like I said, the thing that really blows my mind about this move is this shows me GenG, the org, has no clue who Daps was. Because here's what I do. Let's say, you know what, I'll go one further than it's probably true. Let's say it was a mutiny in the team. As far as I know, he was like disillusioned and he felt like, you know, they weren't going the direction he wanted and he wanted to go.
Yeah.
Let's say, though.
Well, that's what he said in his statement, but
Yeah.
I'll just take all of that with a pinch of salt. Like.
That's what I heard similarly behind the scenes. But let's imagine they did a mutiny, like, you know, where the players kick you out, we won't play with this guy again. If I'm GenG and I understand who I had in my team and who I signed, here's what I'm doing. Even if I don't want him as my GM, I'm bringing him into that sort of a role, or he'll be assistant to the GM, or he's going to be part of the coaching staff. Or so. Because as you say, the area where Daps is indisputably worth his weight in gold is team building. He has done it. There's only one lineup he ever made that failed, the Cloud9 one. And that didn't even get that much chance for them. I think they went to like 3 lands or something fucking insane and had to stand in at one. Like, again, not even a proper go at it. Every other case, he's taking teams. He starts here and then he takes them up to just near tier 1 again, or tier 1, and then he gets kicked. So it's like the Hunden angle. To me, it's a slam dunk to have these guys be coaches and GMs. They're so fucking insanely good at it.
Yeah. No, totally. And like, listen, you're absolutely right. Like Daps, I think, is like, it's almost like cut price Carrigan or something like that, right? Like, you know, he's got this proven track record. He can identify talent. He can get the most out of players. Yeah, it might never build you like a truly world class team. He might never build, although arguably, I was gonna say like NRG, right? I mean, you know, but regardless of that, I just think like,
by the way, that's how people literally retcon history. So, you know, one of the reasons I was sad Astralis won the last major is I knew what would happen. I knew that everyone would delete from their minds Men in Black style the previous 5 months. Because here's the thing, right? If you're going to tell me that actually Astralis was always that good, that, you know, they just weren't motivated, it wasn't the major. People don't remember this. Before they brought Stanislaw in, it was at the ESL Pro League season, I felt like NRG in a best of 3 with Daps as the IGL beat that Astralis team. So if you're one of those clowns who thinks Astralis was always the GOAT team and they never even took that Blastralis period, well, then you have to straight up say Daps beat them straight up in a best of 3.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know who they're going to get that's going to be.
I can't even imagine who it could be.
Yeah, and I don't know what he's going to do. Like next.
Like, I'm getting really worried, by the way, about that team because I don't know anyone on the free market. I don't know any good IGLs, especially not any from NA, and I don't know who they could get from Europe. So unless they've got like some secret line to a free agent, I have to speculate. I imagine it's going to be something stupid like you recruit another fragger and now Automatic's taking another turn, or Koost is the IGL. It's gonna. I'm predicting pure speculation. I'm predicting it's going to be some boneheaded move like that. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Or Bentet's the IGL or something stupid. You know?
Yeah. Well, actually, what's interesting now is with, I wonder if, because we know that the Cloud9 team obviously left the org, but they wanted to stay together as a 5 because of the major, right? That's what they were saying publicly.
That's a joke. You're going to qualify to the fucking major, all right, boys.
Well, I mean, you know, they've got you know, major ranking points.
Sure.
And which they would lose. You know, they're like 5th, I think, in the region.
Problem is, no one knows yet if you get those reset or not. I personally think that if the major's more than like 2 months, it has to be reset. Come on, man. You can't have shit from like, remember the first one was in May or something. You can't have that count towards a major in fucking May the next year.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But I think they want to stay together because of that. Because obviously, if they change the roster, you know, they take 1 or 2 people out. Now, put it this way: there's definitely a world where people like OC and Floppy could end up on a GenG.
They should be in better teams, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't be too disappointed if it was something along those lines.
Floppy especially should definitely be in a better team, in my opinion.
Mate, like you want to talk about players who've been fucking cursed. Like what a fucking difficult start to, you know, what could be the start of a very promising career for him. So yeah. But anyway. Right, so just before we get into viewer questions, that's all the news.
There must be a million of them for this one because we rolled them over, didn't we?
Yeah. Don't worry, we'll clatter through them. But I wanted to say, like, obviously, I've been watching all of your content, so I wanted to address a couple of things. First off, I just want to say your Red Eye video is sick. Probably one of the best videos you've done in ages. I watch your stuff periodically when I have time.
People won't realize I took some chances on that one.
Oh, I know.
If people read into certain things a certain way, I was putting my neck on the line with some of that.
Yeah, no, totally. But if people haven't seen it, it's called, was it Redeeming Red Eye's Legacy? I think it was called. So just check it out. It's like really good, and it adds vitally important context. Like I was thinking about saying something because, you know, I don't like the idea that Red Eye, and I talked about it on By the Numbers when it happened, that me and him had a very difficult and weird past. We'd worked together, not just at events, but at Heaven Media within a company corporate structure, and he was a very difficult boss. I'd even go so far as to say he was a fucking arsehole to me. But it comes, like you say, it did come with its benefits in a way. He did push me really, really hard, and he did come down on me like a ton of bricks when I fucked up. But equally, he gave me a lot of fucking leeway. And probably there's an argument to say I don't go on to become the type of journalist I was, or the type of editor I was, or my ability to handle pressure. Working with Red Eye definitely taught me a lot of that. It was sink or swim culture. Like you said, you don't get a kiss and a cuddle and a cup of tea. But, you know, if you swim, he's the first to tell you what a great job you've done. So, yes. and you know what? When you've got a hard taskmaster like that, a hard boss, when you get praise, that's a great feeling, because you know there's no bullshit there. You know you fucking aced it.
Yes.
One of the best moments for me and Red Eye, like when our relationship turned the corner, because I didn't talk about this a lot, was when I went to the 2014 Cologne major, and my friend had just hung himself. And I was really fucked up. I literally I wasn't in a fit state to be on a broadcast mentally. And I flew the jacket. I totally forgot. I flew with the suit I wore at the fucking funeral and went straight on air. I still had the fucking service. Yeah, service in my pocket, you know.
All right.
And I was an analyst at that event, right? So you can imagine what the community was doing to me. You're not an analyst. You're a fucking dickhead. You fucking... Even though I'd always been an analyst up until that, but you don't even know the game. You don't even know the standard.
I always love that when it comes from literal Gold Nova players. Like, you know a lot about the game. Well, how would you judge?
Yeah. So
I'll take it if like fucking Zeus says that about me. You can't. Fucking Guerri who's just MG2 or whatever.
Yeah. So I was getting apps. So basically, I was just sat there, right? Friend's dead. It's my fault. I'm miserable. And I'm just looking at the Twitch chat, and it's just, Richard, you should kill yourself. You know, you're shit. You're human garbage. Why is this guy in a broadcast? Lol. You know, just all of that. Just watching it scroll up in the box. Like, just
Brazilian fans were into the game that much.
And then got to go on there, and you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, and those guys did great, and they did it, and you be enthusiastic and be happy, right? And I was just so fucked mentally with it. I didn't go to the after party or nothing. Like I just went back to the hotel. Well, I wandered the streets of fucking Cologne alone, miserable, and then went to bed. Didn't say goodbye to anyone, and flew out in the morning. But before we left for the broadcast, like Red Eye pulled me to one side. And he said, mate, I can't even imagine what you've done. And I like, you've aced it, mate. Don't listen to anybody. You did a great job. I'm proud of you. You gave me a big hug. You know, that's hard for guys like me and him to do. It's hard to talk about our feelings. Like all of that stuff you'd said about on your video where you're talking about coming from those working class backgrounds. That's Red Eye too. That's Red Eye as well. He's one of those guys.
He's like, my area,
yeah, exactly. We're all from that. We're all from that part of the world. So yeah, it's what people don't understand is like Paul is like me, you. We're products of our background and inherent into our psychological blueprint. There's a lot of flaws that come from baggage we cannot get rid of. It's there now. It's there. Yeah, we might be a little bit overly aggressive, but you know, if we didn't have that aggression when we were growing up, we would have been. You wouldn't know who we were. Yeah, you'd have never heard of us because we would have been beaten up and bullied, maybe even killed, like in the neighborhoods we grew up in. And it's the same for Paul. So it's like, you know, one of the things that, like, I know it'll never happen, but like, I always want people to understand that, like, it's possible for people to be fuck ups and flawed and do things that aren't necessarily redeemable. They aren't necessarily like you can't defend the action, but what you can do is you can understand it, contextualize it, and then balance the mistakes and the errors against the positives. Like we don't do that for people anymore. And the way Paul had to slip away from esports after everything he did, like a fucking thief in the night. Nah, it didn't sit right with me that either, mate. But it was just how do you even address? And let me tell you, it's wounded him. It's it's really upset him that it's come to this. Now,
you never fully come back from those things.
No, of course not. And like, obviously, Like, yeah, you can argue he'd been on borrowed time. He had to pay the piper at some point, and because he got away with it and got away with it and got away with it, and people didn't know, and it all came out at once because he never did the sequential stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, fuck me, like. I know you can't go around assaulting people, but still, we don't even know A, if it happened, B, what the context. There's so many undisclosed details around that incident.
That's why when the people are like, but if he did, how do you know?
Yeah.
I always say this, right? As much as I believe in certain aspects of like optimism and humanity and there's good in people, it sounds mad, but as much as like fucking society is a hellscape and it is a dystopia, like the way it's run and it's corrupt as fuck, somehow even the corrupt fucking archonic demonic realm that we live in, that we call society, even they have a higher standard of justice than random fucking plebs. Random plebs genuinely would metaphorically lynch you for any sin they perceived. Keyword perceived. In a court of law, they instruct you from the judge. Unless they're beyond reasonable doubt, the person has done the crime, you must find him not guilty. That means even if you think he did it, but you just can't prove it, you have to let him go. So the idea normal people don't even hold that standard. It's so sad. It's really sad.
And like I said, the worst thing is like, okay, maybe as a community, which by the way, I don't even know how you would ever police this, but maybe as a community, yeah, we have to say like, sorry, Red Eye, your sins were too egregious and you can't be part of this community anymore, even though you essentially built it. You are one of the pioneers and one of the founding fathers of esports as we know it in a modern context. Maybe that's accurate, right? But like, no send-off? Like no, like acknowledgement of everything, all the good shit that he did.
It's all worked out.
It's bollocks, mate. It's bollocks. It's bollocks that people go down like that.
Yep.
Fucking hell. You know, it's like, it's not like it's fucking O.J. Simpson, where it's like, yeah, the crime is so heinous. Obviously, it occludes and obscures and eclipses the fact that he was a decent footballer.
It's not like they took his MVP away because he did it.
No.
It's still in history.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. It's like, we're so fucked up with the way we memory hold anything. And listen, I'll also just add this, because I didn't say this at the time, and it's an essential component to the story. Like, I know Banks had alluded to it publicly, that he tried to give the story to journalists. And I'm obviously one of those guys, right? And I told him, like, there's no way being friends with you and being friends with Paul, like, I can touch that. But if you want some advice,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, but I said, if you want some advice, mate, and I think this is what I said. I said, right, you're at the top of a mountain right now. Your career's in a great place, right? Like, what you're doing now is you're gonna, and Paul honestly is like doing less and less, and just naturally, fading out and concentrating on other projects like Code Red and stuff like this. You're gonna jump off the top of the mountain to try and take out somebody that is already walking down the fucking path on the side. Like, why would you do that? You're at the top, just fucking enjoy the view.
It's the ultimate example of where what he didn't get was two things. One, and I know if people think it's a cliche because they've never had the success. If you have real success that far exceeds what your enemies think, it really is the best revenge. Like, do you know what my best revenge ever over some of the dickheads who lied about me when they were like fired from SK Gaming? It's that if I said their names now, none of you would know any of them. None of them have work, and my life is fucking sick. Secondly, if you want some like shit revenge, mate, here's what you do. You get the schadenfreude of watching someone gradually fade out like it's someone on a fucking Back to the Future photo, knowing that even as they desperately grasp at the last remnants of fame, they can't hold on to them because, they are going to be forgotten. That's what you got to resign yourself to. I'd say it's pretty petty, but I can't lie and say I don't do it myself. Like, that's where you've got to get you, because as you say, all he did there was just risk his own position to get that like revenge. It's like, listen, I'm not going to tell you, don't tell your own story. Do it and do it in whatever way you want, but understand it will come with a backlash against you as well. So you've got to be able to take that as well. I don't feel like it was worth it in that regard. Like you say, if I were him, I'd have just told those stories behind the scenes. Like the people who wouldn't have liked him, not like him, and further on not work with him, and then just enjoy the fact that you're beyond his grasp now, mate. He can't stop you.
Yeah, It was a crazy situation, and also the timing of it. Don't bundle it in with the Me Too shit.
That was dirty too.
Because I'll tell you why you don't do that. Because in time, when people go back and like, cunts like the fucking Score Esports want to throw together, get their intern and want to throw together a video of like, the great Me Too cleansing of 2020. What happened? People are going to make assumptions about what happened to Paul.
And you might even speculate that those were secretly better, and that's why you had to walk away.
Yeah. It's bollocks, mate.
Yeah,
you can't do that. It's fucking bollocks to do that to somebody else, especially when you've had that shit thrown at you yourself, James. Man, do you remember when you fucking accepted that award? Do you remember when you accepted that award at a woman's award ceremony and the BBC came gunning for you and were trying to imply you were fucking sexist and a misogynist when the award was for your allyship to women, right? We all fucking stood tall and said, nah, that's bollocks, fuck the BBC, we don't talk to the BBC and all of this stuff. Red Eye was one of them, by the way.
Fair play.
Shocking. Anyway, whatever. So if you haven't watched that video, guys, go and watch that video because it's a great video and it's good content. The other thing, on Counterpoint, you had Machine, and you made a joke, obviously, about me and Machine not getting along. I did like that.
By the way, if people haven't noticed, that will always be an area that I'll have completely nailed to myself, which is that part of my humor really does involve, like, here's a comedic way to say the thing no one's allowed to say to you, but that potentially is going to be incendiary. And obviously, if you listen, I can pull it off. Like, I've got the fucking cheeky grin, I've got the beak face, got it all prepped.
Got the beak. you have got it all, mate. But anyway, so basically, for those that don't know, me and Machine had a falling out, right? And it was predicated on something probably petty. And
from what I remember, it was something like, I think it was when one of the E-League majors happened, and then loads of fans were like replying to Machine, like, "Why aren't you should be the host?" And then I think he just did something like either replied or like,
that wasn't it. That wasn't it. No, so I'll tell like that doesn't bother me at all. Well, I mean, it's one of those things. I would never do it. And I don't like it when, for example, like the Dota community do this all the time. Like when the TI comes along and someone doesn't get picked, they all shut the dummies out. Like, you've got no right to be there, guys. Like, we can all make assessments about who the best talent is and who isn't, but there's no obligation to hire you. And if you don't get hired, word of advice, sometimes these TOs, they don't hire you the first time to see how you'll take it. It's a test. And when you go public and you go, well, I've been hired, so fuck this and fuck that, you failed the test, dickheads, and now you don't get hired for another 2 years. So, a bit of advice there. Anyway, so that wasn't that. What it was I thought I was doing something good because obviously, when Machine was working at ESL full time and they were sort of basically just controlling him, and I put something out about, like, I don't know, like ESL don't let Machine do other events or something like that. Or
right, yes.
Yeah, and then which was true, right? And I was doing an old mate a favor because I go way back with Alex.
Sorry, yeah.
And then he messaged me going, I'm not sure I think I like your tweets, mate. And it was like very to the point. And I just said, I don't know a world where I have to give a fuck what you think of my tweets. So, classic, we're butting heads. But it was just like the one thing I don't like is when people try and police my opinions or how I express myself.
So phrase that. Here's the thing. I'll give you some advice if you're anyone in the industry. All you should have said there was something like, look, in fact, here's how I'd open. Are you ready? This is how you could get through to Richard and he would be the most reasonable person ever. You'd say, listen, I'll never tell you what to tweet. It's your Twitter account. And the information you found is correct about me. But I feel a bit uncomfortable that like some of that is known now. So like, in the future, like just as a personal courtesy or as a favor to me,
DM me or
could you just ask me or so? If you say it like that, I guarantee you'd get a very different response. The problem is, I'm with you, mate. If anyone ever tells me something like that, like essentially trying to say like, I'm telling you, you can't do that. It's like, well, you're definitely not going to tell me that. That's one thing you are never going to tell me.
Yeah. So from that, and this also kind of was wrapped up in my own assessment because Machine was blowing up at that time. Alex was blowing up at that time. Rightly so, because he's talented. But it was wrapped up in my assessment that he was starting to get an ego. Now, I don't know what it is. Like, I value people who never change. And I know that's so ridiculous and absurd, but because I believe it of myself, and it's probably not true. It's probably a misguided belief. It's probably an aspect of self-delusion that we all have to engage in. But I believe I'm the same motherfucker that I ever was. And money won't change me. Status would, none of that. I'm above all that, me. Right? That's what I believe. And therefore, because I believe it in myself, I naturally value it in other people, right? So now, me and Alex used to get stranded at airports together doing shit events, you know, and fucking, you know, we'd shoot the shit. I knew him from Call of Duty and all that. I thought he was a great kid, but so that happened at a time when I was like, yeah, he's starting to get the diva disease in esports. So yeah, it did. It created a bit of a bad thing, and then he tried to talk to me at E-League, and that was like a fucking stressful environment for reasons. And I think I just told him to fuck off. I just like, I don't want to talk to you, mate. So it was tough, but what I realized, like with everything else that's gone on in my life, like life is way too short for petty, pathetic esports beef like that. So he messaged me out of the blue and like just said, like, listen, mate, this is fucking daft that we don't talk, especially when we've all got mutual friends, you know, and it's like there's nothing more awkward than, you know, I'm best mates with Henry. Henry's living with Alex. I can't talk to fucking, you know, like it's daft. So I just said,
the person who's the mutual friends, like the fucking kid in the divorce, who's like, and then your mother's bloody done this, and like your father.
I know,
yeah. I just like all of you, please, just stop, please.
Yeah. So I was like, I was like, you know what, like, yeah, I gotta grow the fuck up, mate. You know what I mean? I'm in my late 30s now. I'm fucking, and I'm upset over a fucking Twitter DM. Like, grow the fuck up, mate. So, you know, and life is too short. And I'd hate it if something like happened to me or happened to Alex and we left on like a mad sour note. And there was, you know, that's the worst thing. Like when people die and you've got all the unanswered questions. So I was like, fuck it. That beef needs to get squashed. So just to address what you joked about on the show, as far as I'm concerned, me and Alex are all sorted now, and it was just some silly stuff, and I know I've cunted him off on the podcast before. I won't do it again unless he does something that warrants him being cunted off. So I
appreciate the realistic disclaimer though, like unless you know he just pisses me off again next week.
yeah, exactly. Or unless I have another one of my mad tantrums out of nowhere. And with that, let's get into the mad tantrums of viewer questions. Reykjavik asks, how could and I've always got to be careful with.
You never read this.
Come on. I know. Right. How could Dead have cheated in those games? I thought the objective of cheating was to win at all costs and not flop to a last place finish. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the beauty of it. I mean, the fact that his cheating, which by the way, remember they accuse other people of cheating while they were cheating. And now they finished dead last, 0 chance to qualify for the major, had the major been going ahead. And I am telling you, MIBR won't suspend him. And I'll never gloat about people losing their job, but I'm pretty sure Dead's going to be financially okay, guys. I think he's made his fucking cheddar. But, you know, for me, like, yeah, he's one of the ones that Valve should permanently ban for life from Valve tournaments across the board because he cheated in the major cycle. So
and even worse, continued to try and play cat and mouse with the people investigating him, lying publicly, which, by the way, let's just go ahead and throw this out there. Does anyone imagine that during the period when everyone was waiting for Mihao to prove that he'd done it, that he wasn't getting death threats? He even said he was.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah. Just you know, add it extra layer of spice. Jerckysminion. Can we rename By the Numbers to By the Corral Whore, since all the news is Brazilians, or Brazilians cheating and their fan base attacking people? Listen, I'll say this. Pretty soon, there's going to be no fucking Brazilian CS teams left at this fucking rate, so don't worry. I wouldn't worry about it, mate. I think this will be a topic that will play itself out naturally, because, you know, all the top-tier coaches are getting banned. You know, we got fucking MIBR aren't even a team, are they? I mean, have you seen the results they've had, by the way, Duncan?
But this way, some guy made a Reddit thread, and basically they'd won against like half of them were nobodies, and then the losses were unreal. I'm not talking about 1 or 2. We talk about like the Whizclair, Krakau's. No, like you won't even believe, guys, the people that beat. That's why I said that tweet. Is there a team that couldn't beat MIBR?
They lost to that Copenhagen Flames team that were like 82nd in the world.
The one that sold the 2 good players.
The one who I beat on Face It, mate. I'm better than MIBR. I've beat fucking 2 Copenhagen Flames. Get wrecked.
As if he's just dropped that.
No, we talked about it on BTM before.
That's when they might actually retire, is when they lose like a practice game online, and then Sam just like retags like LOL Bainlaw, like, yeah, wait, is that the? And he's like, get wrecked, dickheads.
I just like the way he did it there. It was like that voice of that fucking. We got you sucking on a dildo, mate. Classic bit of banter that. Look it up, guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, thanks for the question, Rezchi. Now with Steel stepping away from CSGO and moving to Valorant, who is there left to bring up and discipline North America's tier 2 and lower players that are all aim and no brain? Well, I mean, listen, there are not many people.
The job.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like when you talk about the types of in-game leader that North America has produced, you know, Steel and Daps are of that ilk where they do mold players and give players tangible skills and make them better. But there aren't many of those. I mean, there's not many of those in the world. You know?
So the problem is the rest are all retired. Sean Gares, Days, like they're gone guys. Adren, I don't think is going to come back to playing. The problem with that role is the reason you can bring that guy up is you've dealt with 50 other players, 100 other players that were teammates. You've seen every type of teammate, every developer. You've learned from their mistakes. It doesn't matter how brilliant you are as an IGL. You can't just instantly acquire that experience. It's the reason why most coaches in pro sports have like a lifetime in the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, there really isn't anyone that I can think of.
No, there's no one.
You know, where I don't even think the top tier NA teams have in-game leaders that do that.
No. Like Stanislav doesn't particularly do that.
Yeah, you wouldn't
like that. No, none of
I
them.
mean, yeah, like what does Stan do? He waits for Tarek to get somewhere, turns up, and then says, "Right, lads, it's my way or the highway."
This is how you do it.
Yeah, this is how you do it. They fucking plummet in the rankings before they have a renaissance or kick him. It's like you know, and then over at Liquid, well, they got Stewie as the in-game leader now. So I mean, fucking hell, he's just a pup himself. So yeah, I mean, it's not looking good in terms of that, and the NA scene wants to watch itself because I saw somebody again, Redditors. I saw somebody on Reddit saying, "Oh, yeah, NA just doesn't have as much talent as it used to." I mean, provably false. It's got more talent now. Like in terms of people you could slot into top tier teams than it has for a while. The problem is there aren't enough teams to do something with it, and there aren't the IGLs to essentially mold those players into role players within a team. So you end up with just these dog shit rosters that like endlessly cycle players out before going, I'm 30th in the world, I'm off to play Valorant. Oh, PS, I did a load of match fixing. Brilliant, yeah. Did you see that, by the way? There was a clip doing the rounds where some players that have some CSGO players who have gone to Valorant have been implicated in fixing matches. And the debate has been, should Riot ban them from Valorant? Absolutely would never sign off on that, by the way.
No, listen, I don't think
outrageous.
they could, but there's a world in which Riot could. Riot are a fucking habitual line steppers themselves.
So just watch out for that story when that starts happening, by the way. Anyway, AliceThealchemist. Hey, Rich, I'm just curious, but do you and Thorin feel kind of let down by the fact that you have both been somewhat gatekept by the Dota 2 community to do content around it, despite the fact that it's other big esport owned by Valve and the esports circuit they have is amazing? Well, I'll answer that, and I'll just say this. I haven't been gatekept. I fucked up by getting into a physical altercation with a beloved player. Well, beloved might be stretching it, but a popular and established
legendary player.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because the incident was so embarrassing, and DreamHack had a vested interest in lying about it publicly, which Hellspawn did. Hellspawn being a moderator of the Dota 2 subreddit. Wink, wink. Unfortunately, it's just become its own myth. You know, me and Loader tomorrow could like go on a podcast and he could say, yeah, you didn't choke me or you didn't strangle me or whatever it was he tweeted out, you know. You did just push my head away. I was being the aggressor. And I'd go, it doesn't matter, mate. I shouldn't have put hands on you. All a bit fucking daft. And, and the mad thing is, we talked because he brought his PUBG team to one of my events in Vegas.
WSOE thing, right?
Yeah. And we had a perfectly civil conversation and a nod and smile. You know, we're not going to be mates. We're not going to be on each other's Christmas card list, but we could have done all this. But we didn't. And now it's just festered. So obviously, Valve can't ever have me on a Valve-sanctioned broadcast. You can't roll out, well, Day 9's a cunt, so and Red Eye's gone. So here's Richard Lewis. Remember him? Yeah. Everyone says he strangled Lauder to death. So they can't do it. I understand. I mean, especially think about like controversial figures they'd worked with, like Too Good. Not even, it's like. They just can't do that. So I've made a rod for my back in that sense. But what I will say is I've done 2 Dota events. I'm very good friends with some high-level Dota players and coaches and personalities. I get on super well with all of the talent. Like, me and Capitalist. I love that. I mean, they're all Ziori's fucking sick. All of these guys are amazing. Like, there's some really cool guys. I loved working with Lyrical. Like Moxie's great. I consider these people friends. It's a shame we don't get to work together more, but it is my fault. But if when I come back to doing CS events, there's some companies that are doing Dota events, I think I'll be able to double dip and go in there. The one aspect that does piss me off, and then I'll throw it over to Duncan, is the way that some of these commentators, and like not all of them, but some of them, and they're the dickheads. They're not the cool people in the Dota scene, by the way, have said like, Richard Lewis and Doran shouldn't make videos about Dota. Stick to what you know, lad. Stay in your lane. And then they spend all day tweeting about American fucking politics. Yeah, stay in your fucking lane then, dickhead. What's good for the goose? But unfortunately, it's because they feel threatened. Because like the reality is, we'll never win over Reddit, I don't think, because Reddit's very set in its ways. But we could make content that would find an audience within Dota if we really wanted to. Yes. And I play the game. I play the game religiously now. I play it every day. I don't even play Counter-Strike anymore. So, but yeah, there's some people who have been arseholes, but I don't feel gatekeeped. I think I fucked up myself.
I'll just say, like, similarly, I don't think you'll ever see me working a Dota broadcast. I mean, the problem is, like, it's very cliquish, and I actually am not in favour of making inappropriate sexual advances to women, so I'd never fit in. I don't think I'd fucking be able to hang around there, it'd be awkward, I'd be talking about girlfriends, wives, they'd be going, is that the nickname you call them, eh? Is that what, I don't call them that myself, then whatever, you get the joke. Don't even timestamp that, just leave it in, straight fire. Suck a dick, you literally did it. And by the way, defended all your friends to the bitter end. There you go. What do you want to do about that? Sucks, doesn't it? Anyway, all of a sudden, we don't seem like dickheads for tweets 5 years ago, do we? Almost seems fairly harmless in comparison. The other thing is, on the content side, it's actually, for similar reasons, a tragedy to me that basically that subreddit just downvoted all my shit permanently, no matter what it was. Because if people don't know, that's one of the only esports that I don't work in that I watch for pleasure. Like, I prefer to watch Dota 2 than League of Legends. I consider League of Legends like Babby's first fucking MOBA. Like, I think it's way worse. I just like the scene around League of Legends, and I've got a space making content that I enjoy making the content. Making the content is different than watching and playing the game, obviously. So if it was up to me, I think this is the only year I've barely watched any Dota. I watched one final maybe or something. Like, every other year, I watch most of the big events. I follow the teams and the players. I like I do in other games. It's just I'm not in the game embedded, so I don't know everything. I don't claim to be like super expert, of course. I'm like a super fan. So the problem is, I do enjoy making some Dota content, but I already basically burn as a luxury my like Quake videos or. In 2002, this Russian in Counter-Strike, I already know that's basically a wasted opportunity cost. I'm not going to make any money from that. So that's what I do as a luxury, because luckily I'm in such a brilliant position in my life, blessed in that sense, that I can basically make money elsewhere and then do that as a luxury and give it to people. So the idea I'm going to do like 3-hour interviews all the time with people in Dota and give up that level and then have it all downvoted and just shit on. It's like... Nah, at that point in time, it's one of the only games in which I thought of thinking, fuck those fans. I'm not even going to give them the free content. So there's a world in which, I'd make loads of content in Dota. Probably wouldn't be my main game. It'd be one of my side ones, a bit like I did Overwatch a bit. And I've done some of it. So it never would be my main thing. I'm not being gatekept in that sense. It's not going to stop me making a living. I could still do the odd video. I still will. It's just that there has to be some commercial overlap for me to put in the kind of time I do for my job. I can do it for funsies, but if I do it for funsies, you're going to get the occasional video when I feel like it. If I want to actually make money off it, people have to not be hostile. And like I said, unfortunately, in most other games, like You'll never break me in CSGO League of Legends. I'll keep repeating. I'll release as much content as I want, whether you downvote it all and say it's all shit or what. I do that for me. But in a game like Dota, like I say, I just watch it for fun. So I don't have to create content around it. So if people are really just going to spit in my face when I give them like a fucking 5.5 hour interview with the person who's just won TI, might just not do them anymore. They might, I might do one every year. And then the three because there's a little detail. You think I haven't had top pros in Dota? They've done it all the time, mate. Who just say like, "Oh, there's so few journalists in our space."
Oh, yeah.
They're just like Overwatch, mate. They all claim that the journalists are shit. So you're like, well, where's the ones you like? There aren't any. They don't exist. And so that's the joke. Dota doesn't have content creators. They have like a couple of people who write small pieces. So the fact that they don't have it, pros don't like that. The reason why PPD and people like that did interviews with me is they were crying out for some serious shit. Someone would treat it like that and research it. Well, there's a lot more I could have done. And I just thought, nah, fuck it. Not going to bother. Sorry, mate.
Not only that, though, as well. I mean, like, they can't have it both ways. It's like, I understand that it's a very, like, meme-driven scene and a lot of focus on the game rather than sort of the ancillary stuff around it. But it has got a match-fixing problem that makes Counter-Strikes look like nothing. And they don't really have any investigative journalists. And the ones that are onto it and know about it, they all come to me and they fucking message me privately going, "Are you aware of this? Are you aware of that? Are you aware of this?" And I'm going, "If you're aware of it, publish it." They're going, "Fucking, how can we?" Think. You think our game's got fucking problems? Like, think about how important China is to Dota 2.
Yep.
And think about how all roads lead to that. So, I know I could go into Dota and do a job, and I'll take that. I don't give a fuck. Chinese gangsters wanting to shoot me. Fucking call that Friday, mate. Who gives a fuck? But, like, unfortunately, there would be no point in getting shot by those gangsters because no one would even see the fucking story because some pleb on Reddit would go, Richard Lewis, Hell in a Cell. Yeah, tried to kill Lauder for no reason. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, it's like, I'm the same as you, mate. I don't feel gatekept. I'll do what the fuck I want. But what's the point in, like, sacrificing your time, your effort, your quality of life to give something to people that don't deserve it?
Yep.
Fuck them. So, yeah, good question. The other AliceThealchemist question. Hey, Rich, if one day there was a successful time machine pill, okay, this is a good one, and it was offered to both you and Thorin for a one-time use, how quickly would you go back to course correct that choice to work in esports? And which part of your life would you fix after you went back that made sure you wouldn't choose the esports route again? I mean, mate, I'd have to go super far. Like, there's a lot I'd want to fix, I think. I'd have to go back to childhood, me. Because, so people probably don't know this about me. And you can't really ever express this without sounding like a cunt. So, but, so I was one of those kids that was, like, doing really well academically. And there was a point in my life where I could have gone up a year at school, and I didn't. I wanted to stay with my mates. And then I passed like some standardized test where I would have had a free scholarship to one of the best private schools in Britain. But if I'd gone,
you'd have been bummed.
Yeah.
True, by the way. So he just didn't like
it. No, but I mean, I always say when I tell the story, I just wanted to stay with my mates and that. But obviously, fear of the bumming was because I mean that's what what was going on at them schools. So I said, well, I'm going to give that one a miss. But then it also
I thought this is
after it happened, I wish I'd bloody gone to school. Could have had this on tap. Anyway, no. What happened was
it's mental. Someone sponsors this podcast.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I always expect a phone call. But anyway, so then again towards the end when I was going in sixth form, I could have gone a really good college, but I sort of stayed. So I stunted. I had loads of opportunities to get on and do something academically.
That could have opened your horizons.
Yeah, and what always stayed with me was. I remember when I was working on a book that I've shelved at the moment, but it was going to be a definitive kind of sort of the history of esports, but told anecdotally by the lives of people that lived in esports. And I remember talking to Sujoy Roy, the Quake player, for those who don't know, and I remember like at a time when everyone was saying esports is great, and I'm so glad I'm here, and I'm so glad I'm doing all this. I remember talking to Sujoy, and he just said, "Mate, of course, I wish I'd never took the esports route." He goes, I was on course to be a research scientist. I could have been working on a cure for cancer or something. Instead, what? I was in the CGS. Fuck that, you know? And it was like, that always stayed with me, that quote, because I thought, fucking hell. Yeah, you've wasted your life, essentially. So it's like, you know, I've been to the top of esports, but fucking hell, it's a tiny little hill. But with the time that's left, that's all I'm going to get to do, innit? So yeah, I would have gone back in time, and I would have probably, you know, made the decision to do better academically, go to a much better academic standard, push myself a little bit more, instead of just ending up like, I think I've won because I don't have to compromise. I just get to live a life now where I talk about video games and it's comfortable. It's pathetic, really, in its own way.
I mean, here's the thing. I personally wouldn't choose to do that. If assuming like I am allowed a choice, I don't have to go back to a point and stop going to esports. So if I'm allowed a choice, I wouldn't. Like, I genuinely think it's all right. Like, I like the way it's gone. But if I did something different, like if I have to make my course in life totally different, I can think of an obvious one I would do, which is at an age I won't reveal which. It's not particularly relevant to the story, but there was an age, right, where I bought a bass guitar and an amp and all that shit and started learning to play it and that, because it's like the easiest to learn as well. It's like, there's loads of like Ramones songs you can probably learn in like half a day, mate. It's not even hard. But the problem is I just never stuck with it at all, because I was like, fuck it, because I was just a gamer, you know. Like, you can endlessly fill your days playing video games. It's why I agree with Joe Rogan. It is a waste of time. If you do it in moderation, it isn't. But that's like every wanker going like, you know, one glass of wine helps your heart. It's always the person who's like a borderline functional alcoholic who says that, by the way. It's never the guy who does take one glass, because who the fuck can have just one glass? So the real problem I have with that is it just becomes an excuse for not moderating your life. The fact that theoretically it would be possible. So if I could change something, the reason why I actually think, I never thought of it at the time, that would have been an interesting route to go, is because what's funny is when I start anything, I'm a really slow learner. Like, I'm never good at something just instantly. I never like take it. I never have like natural ability at anything. But what's weird is, because if I like something, I just stick with it. I stick with it forever. And I try to learn from others' mistakes. I try to level my shit up. Basically, everything I've ever applied myself to, I got really good at. Like, when I first started in esports, I've told the story before, I never could have done on-camera work. All I did is write articles. In fact, the very fact that I had unlimited time to edit it was my safety net. I never had to ever worry. So the idea I was going to do shit in person, live, social settings, I'm terrible at social settings in the time. So like so the reason why I wish I'd sort of like put some effort into it is because once I do actually get some level of technical competence, I get really good at sort of doing my shit. Like, I know my lane completely, and I just become, listen, whether you think I'm good overall, that's entirely subjective, but within what I do, nobody can do what I do like I do. So I know in like the music world, I think I could have had a really interesting angle on things. You know, I would have just done shit my way. Doesn't mean I would be successful, but by the way, it's one of the reasons I was in esports. I never felt like in life you have to have this success of mansions or millions of fame. I just wanted to have a life where I get paid to do what I like doing. So I could have, believe it or not, especially in my area, I could have been happy just being one of those guys who's like 40, but you just still every weekend you go, you play a few gigs in some like pubs. Every now and then you have friends in the music industry. You get to be like the opener for their tour and go to like fucking, I don't know, America 2 or 3 times. Or something. You know, you just live like the part-time musician life where you do a bit of studio work for someone, and you just get to be one of those unsung heroes. No one knows, but you get a cool little life in whatever you're passionate about. And who the fuck doesn't like music?
Yeah, well, this was the thing as well. Like, I think, you know, it's totally relatable. That's why, like, I never felt like I lost out. Like, people go, you're a fucking loser, you fat ball wanker, and it's like, listen, you know, I came from fuck all and managed to carve out a life for myself where I am financially comfortable, don't need to work, don't need to take jobs now. Like, can literally just do what I want when I want. And, you know, yeah, it's not amazing, it's not groundbreaking. But, you know, fucking hell, like, I saw so many cunts get fucking destroyed by, like, you know, menial jobs. I had a family that, like, I watched them all die of industrial diseases in their fucking 50s. You know, doing jobs they fucking hated to put food on the table. Like, if you come from that background, you consider just having a comfortable life, doing something you enjoy, to be the ultimate victory. And you know, I think that's why it's like relatable. I wish I'd pushed myself a little bit more, but I let myself off the hook for not doing it, because coming from the world I come from, this is what winning looks like, unfortunately. Sure. You know, so anyway, another question. Ehco, if you had to assemble a Swedish super team today to dominate the online era, who would it be? Assume everyone is willing to play with everyone else and buyouts don't exist. Who are the 5 best Swedes then, Dunk?
I mean, he means particularly online as well. Like, I would obviously instantly start with Flusher and JW. They're the first 2 out of the gate, because like everything about their game is perfect for online playing. Like, it's exactly what you want. Beyond that, I mean, listen, I'll take 3 from Fnatic. I'll take Brolan as well. He's just so young. That means he basically had to be good online. He'd never be noticed. After that, it's tough after that to think who the other 2 would be, though.
I'm with you. I'm with you so far. I mean,
it's got to be someone from NIP. Maybe the Nork kid. He seems like
you got to take Rez.
Oh, Rez is another good one.
You got to take Rez. Rez has to be in the Swedish super team at the moment,
sure.
Even if online or not. So that's our 4. The 5th.
There's not that many Swedes around nowadays. You know, there's only the 2 teams. Basically.
Do you not take someone off the Dignitas lineup? You don't take Forrest in there?
It's not the end of the world if you take him. Yeah, there's got enough skill in the team. I'd probably do that.
Yeah.
Not bad in the team.
I mean, I think Forrest still kills it. It's just that team's just not going to do anything for obvious reasons. But, like, I think Forrest is still playing at a decent level. Don't think he's, dropped that far off. And, yeah, I'll put him in. One last hurrah, playing with a bunch of fucking strings. Then again, left Crims out, haven't we? Oh.
Yeah, but that's also because to me, Crim's game isn't that suited for online. He's like a smart player position. Like online's nothing to do with that.
Yeah, true.
Online's like Stewie 2K shit, isn't it?
Yeah. All right then. There we go. I hope that answers your question. Ehco also asks, with the Rio Major and all majors overall being put on hold until lands can be held again, is there any chance you're going to do that bot major you talked about on the No Flashpoints Club back in spring when the world was only mentally, not physically ill?
I like the way that was phrased.
What a great question. So listen, Sam, are you there?
Yeah.
Sam?
Just getting my mute button.
Yep. Just getting my bong. Right. Realistically, we'd have about 2 months to set it up.
Yeah, we could do this easy.
Is it easy to do a bot major? How's it easy?
Well, you just get a server.
Just invite Smiths, Deadfoot.
And you just add 5 bots on each side, put them on like hard difficulty so it isn't as boring.
Well, no. But I want to do content around it. So, like, you can't have all the teams on hard difficulty.
Oh, okay. You want to have it like low, like fucking top trumps, like certain power levels.
No. I want the worst teams to be on low, and I want the best teams to be on hard.
Stimulate a real tournament, right?
Yeah. Because obviously you can't have. You'll get too many upsets, won't you?
I think I'll have to look into that. I don't know too much, but I assume that's doable. It's all in the CVAR commands or whatever, isn't it? So
what we need is, Sam, because like, listen, I know you'll figure this out, right? Because like I can put you to work and you will do. We need a nerd though. I think we need to get a nerd.
I already got a guy met when you said it. I know he's like an admin. He sets up servers for ESL and all these other people. He'll do it, mate. I'll ask him. He'll know.
So we'll give him a rate.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we need is we'll have to get all of the No Majors club crew to come and actually do commentary over the games. And then, will you be doing Flashpoint, Duncan, at that time?
Depends when it is.
Well,
when the major was supposed to be.
The major was supposed to be.
I don't think so, but it might get moved. We'll have to see on that. Put it this way, did you not like my banter? I can't believe no one else thought of it. What I just said, the whole world's in the No Majors club now.
It was good. But listen, if I'm totally up for it. Like, I'll broadcast. I'll even get sponsors in. I might even, the team that wins. Like,
the only thing I'm thinking is, do we really want to do it like MR16 bots v bots? That's all. You know what I mean? I feel like people are going to get burnt out of watching bots chase each other because it's going to like run out of time every game.
Yeah,
so it's going to be
half the time.
Yeah. So it is just going to be a podcast basically. But we could, if we want to have lower, shorter games.
Here's the obvious thing to me. You should obviously, it should just be bantering,
Oh.
and just being stupid the whole time.
Someone in the chat's had a banging idea. You can get Rivalry to set odds based on the bot difficulty. And apparently, I was Googling, you can edit each bot's difficulty. So I could have like star player bot, high,
but
low
see,
player shit.
I want to make a content, right, on the first day with no games, where we talk about the rationale behind, so it's all transparent. You know which bots have got the hard difficulty.
Yeah.
Obviously Taco's on the lowest setting. We talk everyone through it so everybody knows, and then you can fuck around. I don't know about betting on it because I don't know if it can be manipulated.
No. But like what I'm saying is Rivalry could set up a thing where it's not money, but we'll say bet on the teams like a Thunderdome thing, so that we could like predict which of the bot teams wins. If you get it right, we'll just give you $500 or whatever, so you aren't actually betting on anything.
Yeah. So I mean, like if it's not hard to do. The only barrier is the burnout of will people tune in and literally watch? Because I tell you what, right? How about we just do this then? Do we agree best of ones?
Yeah. We'll do like best. Maybe we do best of 3 final. I think we maybe semis, but I don't even think all the playoffs. That would be about outrageous.
That would be too much. But yeah, best of ones, and then maybe a best of 3 final or best of 3 is in the semis, depending. But how much content we need. But yeah, I'll listen.
Could even do best of 1 MR12 and then do best of 3 MR12.
I'll do that, and I'll be able to bring in a bunch of sponsors. I can probably get some of the talent if they want to come along and probably get us some money.
Yeah, we can get some rates. Try and get a budget going, mate.
Yeah. So if people want it, I'll take the time to put it together. But I just need a nerdlinger to fucking do it all.
I think I'll ask the person tonight. I know 2 people actually. Someone who knows like server shit, and someone else who could write up. We'll get SEO. SEO. No, he'll do all the backstory or something. He can write all the bot difficulties and stuff.
All right, sound. Let's do that then. So watch this space for the bot major. I'm sure now Valve will probably shut me down because I've been criticizing Valve. Right, last few questions now. So Alon asks, inspired by Henry and Kassad, is there any team in the world you guys could improve together? So me and Duncan come in as a fucking dream team. Would you be the coach or the GM? First thing.
I think I'd like to be the GM.
Okay, I'm happy to be a coach. I've done sports coaching. Works for me. I mean, this does make you the top and me the bottom. So
I already know the team we could take.
What's that?
Remember, if you come into the game, especially if you're people like us who get criticised, you want to do it. Either you want it like Moses, where you just have the team already, or you want the one where you can make a big impact, but you've got good pieces and turn it over. So, mate, just give us FaZe Clan. We'll sort all those problems out.
Mate, you're mental. You're mental.
We'll sort all those problems out.
Mate, I can't work with Nico. Come on. I'm the coach, you dickhead. Like, you've got some... No wonder you want to be the GM.
Just get through that troubled young man.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, he loves listening to me, like
anyway, that's your job. So I'm just, I just assign you that. Fuck off out the
room. For me, I think the team I'd probably like to take. I mean, I'm like mad envious of Moses getting a chance to work with Team Liquid.
That's a fucking straight fire job. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Like that, I think that is a good one. Be great to work with Complexity as well. I should give a shout out actually. Warden's left after a long and tenured career, and he's a fucking legend in this game. So, been synonymous with Complexity for so long. So, but yeah, FaZe isn't a bad shout, but for me, I'd love to work with Liquid or someone like that. Take it to the next level. Not saying Moses won't, but just watch out. If Professor Sex fails, I'm available. And then Alon also asks, what is your fondest memory of HenryG? Well, no, but this is an easy one because I've told the story a bunch of times, but it was when it was I-36 fucking quarterfinals where we beat Crack Clan. And HenryG was the stand-in for my 4 Kings team that I was managing at the time. We got him from, I think, TCM, Team Cooler Master or something, anyway, whatever. That game, we weren't supposed to win. Crack Clan were basically the best. There was Dignitas, and then there was Crack Clan. Crack Clan were meant to be like the second best UK team. Had a good rivalry going with Dignitas. And Henry had obviously played with a lot of those boys, and we had like Callisto, who was like Jack Frags. We had like Henry's mate Eamon. We had like Pez. You know, we had a bunch of journeyman UK players. We weren't really supposed to be winning that fucking game. Hoods G was on there as well. He was like our star player. I think he was on loan from TCM as well, if I remember. Anyway, basically, we had no right winning that game, and we on the deciding map, which was Inferno. It was like a fucking quadruple overtime. And like I say, the guy had clutched it. MX, he was called, Jim MX Smale, but he didn't have a kit, and so Henry just fucking threw his headset off because he realised he wasn't going to make the defuse in time, and like they were literally in the next row over from us. So it was super close because lands would just run like that, you know. The idea to stop us cheating was you just put a bunch of bodies over there. Henry's just throwing his headset down. He's fucked it, lads! He's fucked it, lads! He's absolutely fucking screaming at him, barracking at him. I've gone into a trance-like state because my brain's not working because it's quadruple overtime. I don't even realise we've won. I think we're having like a fifth overtime. I'm too stupid to put it together. And then as I've realised, I've done like a Mourinho, and instead of doing like a cool, iconic run down the touchline before sliding on my knees, I've just jumped onto all the players and nearly wrecked the people who were in the row next to us. Just some kid. He wasn't even playing in the tournament. We nearly smashed his PC to pieces. So, but yeah, that's easily that's my best esports moment for me. That meant the world to me winning that game. And Henry was the sole reason not the sole reason, but he was a massive reason on why we did.
I don't think I've told this story before. I've told you it privately, but I don't think I've said it publicly. But I know just based on the fact, listen, Henry's not even a commentator anymore. And the player in question, I actually became somewhat friendly with, believe it or not, if you've only ever heard me criticize him. But there's a story I'll tell you, right? And it's actually a horrible story, but it's just one of those ones where you just laugh because you know where it's like, if you know the person, they're the only person who do that. So here's the story. And if you've never heard it before, I'm pretty sure I haven't told people, get ready for the glory of this story. So when we were doing Star Series season, I'm going to say, I think 5. I think it was 5. So it was in 2018. It was I think it was the one that Navi won off the top of my head, if I'm thinking the right one. This was when North had brought in Mertz as their AWPer, right? And if you remember, I told everyone from day one, he's not going to make it. And the reason why is because it's actually one of my principles of the game, which is that when you're like mad aggro and you just go for 24/7 flick shots with the AWP, like you're either going to be the best player in the world or you are not going to be playing the AWP role primarily in a top 10 team for very long in your career because like, you're just going to fucking be a liability, aren't you? Like you're just going to give it up to, it's like being fucking Jameis Winston out of the fucking NFL. Like if you throw as many interceptions as touchdowns, it's like, you aren't going to last that long, mate. Like you get a couple of years to see if you can get it out your system. If you don't, you're going to be gone. You're going to get replaced by the next talent that people hope can make it. So anyway, I'd been ragging on Mertz the whole time. And because he'd had like a couple of good like games at smaller tournaments, everyone was always trying to give it back to me. Like, oh, look, now he's doing good. Look, he's doing better. Like they always do, right? Yeah. So there was a game he had at this tournament. I forget who they played, where he actually did have a good game. He like went off in this match for North and they beat whoever the fuck it was. Some like half-decent team. I think he had a good game on training from memory. And basically, I go back to the hotel, which is just opposite the road, literally in Kiev. And I'm going to get in the elevator. Me and Henry are there, someone else. You know, we've finished the day, our shift or whatever. And as we're just about, you know, as the doors are like, someone presses the button. In comes Wimp, who at the time was like director of operations in North, a friend of mine from back in the day, legendary 1.6 player. And he's got Mertz with him, right? And I've never met Mertz, never talked to him. He's a young player. He's only just got to tier 1, right? So obviously they shuffle in. Everyone else in there, like I think Parla might have been there, everyone else in the elevator is obviously thinking, this is a bit awkward. So, you know, you're doing the British thing, you're just sort of like, and then you're just like looking away like, yes, anyway, what are you going to do? I'm going to, you know, trying to make it like, you know, I'm sure we're going to. So just as they start pressing the button, right? I can't remember what, unfortunately, I've forgotten this one part, like, which is something, Henry goes, because Henry like hadn't been watching the match because it was his game off. He just says something to Mertz like, "So how did you do in your game then?" And I'd even said like I'd been like trashing the guy earlier the day, right? And then Mertz saw someone just goes, "Yeah, we won actually, thanks. Not sure Thorin would agree," or something like that. Like, yeah, I had a good game, whatever. And then this is Henry for you, right? Henry genuinely is not fucking with me. Like, if he was doing this on purpose, it'd be like genius trolling, like a WKD advert or something. Just being an asshole there. But he wasn't. He was being genuine. He goes, "Why? What's Thorin said?" Like, as I'm watching the doors close, and we've got to go like floor 10, and it's go, and you know how slow the numbers go. I'm getting time dilation just watching this. So then he goes, well, he said, and then says some like banter line that I said about like, you know, he's fucking car at the side of a car with a fucking dustbin can or something, you know. I don't know what the fuck I'd said. And then Henry just goes, oh, okay, right, well, sort of proving him wrong there. Something mad. Like, and I'm just thinking the whole time in my brain, like, why are you keeping this going? Why are you doing this? And then we all just stand there really awkward, like, 2, 3. And by the way, just because you know how life works, they're not getting off at floor 2. They're getting off. Like
you've got to do the full ride. You got to do the full fucking ride.
Guess you sort of with that one, don't you, Mertz? Ding, ding. And like I said, luckily later I did sort of become friendly with Mertz. So there's no problem, no hard feelings there. But like the reason it's genius is because what people don't know about Henry, because he seems so suave and cool and fashionable with his fucking haircut or whatever, is he actually does have like a naivety to him sometimes. He can just be like a child in the world. So it's like the joke there is, like I say, if he was bantering me, that'd be hilarious. But he genuinely didn't know. He was essentially just, it's like if you were like, oh, you two should date. Actually, we were married. Why aren't you married anymore then? Didn't really work out. What was you wouldn't keep private. Let it go, mate. I was almost sort of going like that. You know, doing one of those things. So there we go. There's my favorite memory because it's so ridiculous. Yeah. It's so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, he's a funny motherfucker for sure. GamingPoleDK, regarding CSPPA, do you believe it could be reformed into a proper players' union? And if so, how? What would need to change? I mean, just as it stands, like the people involved don't seem to have honest intentions. You know, it's not what it's meant to be. And I think they're misrepresenting it. And when people are coming in and doing that, you can only like they can't be there because they're always going to try and subvert it into what they want. So it starts with the people. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think the CSPPA is an entirely corrupt entity. I wouldn't burn it to the fucking ground just yet. I don't think it's that bad. But I'm definitely dubious about some of the intents of some of the people that are running that over there. Also, just to throw this in, they've already had to pull the ranking.
Hilarious.
And it's going to get reworked.
By the way, all I'm going to say is this, and I'll leave it to the crowd. If you think it was unreasonable that Flashpoint didn't pay them 6 figures in US dollars to do the things they asked, which they hadn't done, which were essential parts to us working with them, how about the fact that they, on their own impetus, launched a ranking, said within it that they would be updating it every first Monday of the month. When someone noticed, not them, by the way, someone else just said, well, they haven't updated it. Then they just were basically like, we are suspending the ranking. Like, the competence level is like non-existent. They haven't even hit the threshold of doing it once. They didn't manage to update it once. Like, if you pay these people, it's for competence. That's the whole job, is knowing, being able to do what you're told and asked and say you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, guys. I don't know if it can be fixed, but I'm not ready to write it off just yet. And then the last question with there, Duncan. Markus Kujanpaa just says curry or shepherd's pie.
Here's the problem with that question, though, is curry.
I know there's so many.
I'll give you an angle. A curry, there's not only a million types, they can be so variable.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'll just give you a little tip. One of the areas where Germans are delusional, right, is, I'm not joking, they genuinely believe all food in Germany is wicked. So, like, don't ever have a curry in Germany. It is unbelievably bad. Like, it won't even resemble a curry. So I'll just say that. So here's the difference. Shepherd's pie is hard to do wrong. It's actually one of those foods where, you know, when people say British food's shit, I'm like, mate, go to a good restaurant and have like shepherd's pie or something. It might not look good, because that's the real problem British food has. We have no, like, without like the French.
Yeah, there's no panache. Yeah.
But if you do a good one of those with the gravy right, and so it can be fucking delicious. The mashed potatoes. It's actually one of those things that I noticed, one of the few things that does go abroad. Like, there'll always be someone in America like, oh, I had a bag in shepherd's pie or something. Shepherd's pie can be fucking good. So if the right person cooks it, I'd actually take the shepherd's pie. It's a super wholesome fucking meal.
I mean, for me, I'll say curry. I live in Birmingham, which, by the way,
pretty good spot for it. Yeah.
Well, we got what's called the Balti triangles. For those who don't know, the Balti originated in Birmingham. It's not a native Indian meal. It was something that Indians who came to Birmingham sort of created while they were over here as a way of doing sort of a quick stylistic, mock-up of the food that would typically take a lot longer to prepare. And it's actually a protected dish over here. But I live in Birmingham, so the curries you get here are like nothing else, mate. Like, I mean,
curry in the UK is already way better than almost every country except India, as far as I can tell.
Well, obviously, with our very close ties to India and the going right the way back. I mean, it is that like
it's the place.
Well, yeah, but it's not a national. It's not an exaggeration to say the national dish. When people say like, oh, it's chicken tikka masala. Yeah, it is. It is. Indian food is so well integrated. But so I'll always take curry. It's not that I've got anything against shepherd's pie. It's just that where I live, the curries are fucking wicked. I mean, I was jonesing for one, mate, because as Sam will tell you, when we were out in America.
Not in America, like it, mate. Nah,
mate, they don't understand spice. They don't understand spice. Like, they understand heat. You can get something hot.
Yeah.
But you can't get something spicy. They don't get it. It's just so native to them, so alien to them. Not native. So you just don't have it. Or they go too heavy with the cream. It's like eating a fucking yogurt, with bits of meat in it. So curry for me all the time. Right. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of the show. So shout out to the sponsors. NordVPN have signed up, lads. We did it. If you need a VPN, go to nordvpn.com/RLS. Get that downloaded. You're supporting the channel. Here's a wicked deal. It's like 70% off or something at the moment. It might be like 69. They might have done an edgelord meme in there. I'm not too sure, actually, because I just signed it. I'll need to check. But it's a banging deal anyway, because, of course, obviously, shout out to beep.com with 9Es. Go check them out. They're a great sponsor to work with. I'm going to have another interview over on their channel very soon, so keep an eye out on CSGO, the YouTube channel. And obviously, shout out to all of our patrons, our $100 patrons, Jerckysminion. Thank you very much for all the gifted subs tonight, by the way. Reykjavik on Steam, Madams and AliceThealchemist, and our $50 patrons, J Dubs, Butt Pounder 420, Watch Doge, Christian Davison, Kathal, Sigo, Rezchi, Miss Alcoholic, Madsen, Adam Edward, Flacksmith, Benakagi, Ehco, Markus Kujanpaa, Tobias Bernasconi, Carve, Daniel Magnuson, GamingPoleDK, Sunmade Raisins, Alon, and Sard Sawar. That was by the numbers. We'll be back next week. I'm sure there'll be more the hammer's going to drop on ESIC, so you won't want to miss that one. So stay tuned to our Twitters, and until then, take care of yourselves.